LOL and replaces it with haha or something. During my time as head coder, I actually expanded that a little bit, adding in most of what I had in my NTSL script for spell checking. Like fixing contractions and missing apostrophes and a bunch of other things to improve the general like quality of the text, which actually I know for a fact affects a lot of the text that's said in the game. I actually used to keep statistics of how often it would correct spelling errors, and it was like 60% of all speech that it had to correct at some point. Niche later removed what I added to that spell fix. I think after I left, but there is an option we could put that back and improve the speech quality, because I think that is one way of like keeping an immersion, is not having the situation where like you're trying to like be the proper dark stick good role player dude, and the guy comes in and just is speaking in the most broken damn English, and you just feel like a tart, and he looks retarded. Accents.
Oh, God.
Yeah, accent. But yeah, the worst thing is just that it's literally not even accented. It's just wrong. Like it's just stupid and looks stupid, or just like is just incorrect, poorly formatted, poorly punctuated English. That looks shit and is objectively shit. And I think everyone can agree to that kind of thing. So that's one policy that I want to bring up and suggest as a immediate stepping stone towards this medium RP solution.
On the topic of medium RP, I think one of the things that is kind of signature to medium RP servers that aren't Yogs, but it's not quite here, is, how do I describe it? There's a certain restriction on the players, specifically that's not because of a rule or because of a gameplay thing, but because of a either lore or like role thing.
You're talking about sometimes you have to be willing to throw a game to an and tag because you're role playing, that you couldn't just whip up something in chemistry to handle them, or you don't know what they're doing. You have to be willing to throw some green text, or give some to and tags, not Val Hunt all the time, which I think
die.
Yeah, and people here, if you're participating here, you're probably one of those people that's looking more for memorable experience and, haha, I got my green text. Well, again, it comes back to the issue of everybody that doesn't participate and doesn't know anything about that. What does the mechanism look like to deliver the message to them? Hey, fuckstick, can you not?
So, in short, for example, if I described it on a situation in Colonial Marines, right? One of the things that they specifically do is like they have their skills. Like you specifically cannot do something if you don't have that skill. And I'm not necessarily saying I want that for Yogg. I'm saying that makes it so, for example, a dumb private first class is not capable of doing a lot of shit that other roles are doing. And since for me personally, I don't want to put that on Yogs. I don't want to literally force people to say, no, you cannot do this mechanics wise. So what that means is that, for example, for medium RP to happen, the players would have to know sort of a predefined limit of what their role is, what the expectations are, what they shouldn't do, things like that. And there's only so much you can enforce in a medium RP direction before people kind of flinch back, in the sense that, like, you say, oh, well, in this particular situation, your role shouldn't have been able to do that. And then they argue back, oh, well, I would have fucking died if I didn't do it. You want me to fucking die? And then so it's a hard situation where you say, yes, I wanted you to die, increases RP, dickhead. Or you just say, okay, I understand your perspective. I'm not going to really do anything about this situation. That's just how it is on Yogs. That's what's so hard about it. So.
Yeah, one of the things I've done, like in game, one of the things I've done is I've given myself the pacifist role, the pacifist quirk, and not really for the benefits, but more for just it frees me from having to think of it as a game. It's freeing, I guess.
One issue I think we have with the medical system currently in place is that no matter what happens, you could be shot down with a shotgun in the middle of a hall. You can just have someone click on you 3 times and you're back up like nothing happened. I think removes a lot from the impact an encounter has, because if everything you do to someone can be reverted within a couple clicks, what's the point of doing it? Like, what's the point of not just drawing yourself trying to disarm the person?
Well, I think
there's
between
also
you. Go ahead.
Oh, speak.
well, there's also the issue that nowadays with all the fucking ghost rolls, if you die, I mean, it doesn't fucking matter, because what's gonna happen is that you respawn as probably something cooler than what you were originally playing, which really takes away from the whole, like back when we didn't really have any ghost rolls, it used to be if you die, then you end up sitting there for 1.5 hours with your well, just
Hearing you trying to talk without being profane is something. But I think one of the big issues, like all these are just dressings and toppings on what is ultimately we have to make the collective decision to move towards it. Yes, a medical is a part of it. Yes, accents are a part of it. Yeah, getting a ghost roll can be part of it. But really, along with the admin enforcement, we'd have to know collectively, like, this is what it should look like. And everybody has a different idea of what that is and a different desire. I know as an admin, those of you that have dealt with me, I'm pretty freaking relaxed. If you aren't murder boning or blowing up the station, I'm probably going to be pretty chill about it. And there are some people that are going to give you notes for, doing sciences, whatever. So we really need to have some kind of framework for this is what it should look like. This is too much RP and this is too little.
Kay, do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything in particular. I did notice that Mongoose added something in the chat saying there's a lot to be taught to especially new staff with all the nitpicky things to enforce that make the difference between low and medium RP just within our existing rules, let alone up in the future. So we started doing things like coming up with guides and implementing new training standards, but we definitely need to work on lining that stuff up more and seeing how it gets to function. How to get it to function.
I just have some general comments on the RP thing, because I have been here a long ass time and I've basically seen decline of RP standards. But we had a period where we started getting really loose with enforcing things like valid hunting and power gaming, and I believe that actually changed the server culture in
Approximately what
a
time are you
long-term
talking
sense.
about?
I'm talking about 2016-ish, maybe, I think, was when things started going to hell. Possibly. I mean, it's basically when we had that really horrible revolving door policy where we'd have valid hunters and power gamers getting banned for a bit, coming back, valid hunting, power gaming all over again. And even though it's just like a handful of shitty players doing it, it changes the server culture, because when some people do that, it kind of forces other people to play more shittily, or well, more no RP. Another thing that happened is, it's more of a code side issue. Well, I mean, TG is balanced towards the no RP, gotta go fast, gotta green text playstyle, which has never really suited Yogstation culture. So on the code side, well, I'm not really involved in that, but the solution there would be start moving away from that more. And also, what has happened is we used to have more interdepartmental cooperation. You used to have chemistry and botany working more closely together. You used to have cargo was more useful in a sense. You'd actually have to go to places, talk to people, just like this day-to-day communication, just to get your job done. Sure, that is annoying as hell when it feels like no one else is really doing their job and you kind of get stuck in your own job because someone else somewhere on some other part of the station isn't doing their job properly. But that cooperation is what actually encourages RP naturally without any kind of forced rules and such.
I think a big thing that removed from RP was that a lot of the jobs were dependent on mining and science. Now it's pretty much all done with the ore silo and the tech web tech lady.
The
I don't
lathes.
even know how to. Yeah, no one has to talk to anyone else because it's already remotely sent.
Mhm.
That's actually a really good point. I had
Yeah,
totally
That's
forgot.
something I would go for,
Uh,
but I never really wanted to, as council, start getting too much involved in the code. But I mean,
I
if that's
actually,
something that
if you mind if I interrupt you, Oak, there, I
I'll go
actually
ahead
agree
there.
with you. Uh, and yeah, the lay thing I've always been against. It's just like I know there's like sort of a balance to be made between how much you must rely on whatever people are doing, because in a lot of situations, if you uh, make it so that people have to rely on science doing the job or on medical doing the job or whatever, they in a round where medical is doing poorly or science is full of idiots or whatever, then you don't have that key part of the game with you, and that worsens your experience as a whole. So that's something to keep in mind in general when we have things like this that kind of like make it so you don't require as much interaction with other jobs, and that there's less mutual responsibility going on. But then also, this is a job-based game, and there has to be some lines drawn where you definitely have to like interact with people in some way, or you do have to rely on people in some way. So yeah,
Something based on the sorry, something
No,
based
go.
on the job cooperation I would like to change is the fact that you can crawl under the flaps. It seems like a minor thing, but you but
Definitely.
it plays such a big role in science. Everyone breaking in with the toolbox on the windows and just doing science for you. Medical breaking in, taking a med kit, and just running off with it.
Yep.
Also, something about the mutual responsibility I do want to mention, on building on what Altoid said, is some people did have issues with this back in the past, but I always felt when I was a player that engineering fucking up the engine and blowing something up, that was like a lot of the times now we just fix it, or that's like engineering's problem. I always felt that was part of the game experience. Like, oh, you're doing your round,
I
but
agree.
there's a cold here. Oh, you're doing the round, but fucking engineering blew up the SM or got loose to Tesla, and that became an organic part of the round, which encouraged everybody to participate in handling whatever retards blew up something.
Right.
So I just want to bring up one thing. If raise your hand if you were around for pre-base Yogs,
Hello.
and you distinctly remember it, like you remember the key differences, like between now and then, even after all the drastic changes we've made over about it was like January 2019 or 18. It was 18.
Yep. Waiting a fucking fortnight for menus to open. I remember that.
We used
So
to have ultra job preference.
we
Oh,
had a
On the
this is what
ultra job preference, it's technically still a thing, except not it's not shown to the user. People with more experience as head of staff will naturally get a small bonus in the chance to get a head of staff.
I actually want to explain that because I am the one who actually made that PR and
which
developed.
PR?
So it was the PR to make it so that you're the sort of as a replacement for alter preference. I made it so that you get a slight, very slight increase in your chance of getting critical command rolls if you have more hours in it, such that if another person had 10 hours in captain and you had 100 hours in captain, you had a 2/3 chance of getting the roll. So if you had 10 times the amount of hours, you had double the raffle tickets or whatever, kind of like Antec rep in that respect. And then if you have any hours less than 10, then it just counts as if you had 10. That was the thing that I developed and use as a replacement for ultra preference. So just so everyone knows what's currently in the code right now.
So the reason I bring up pre-base is because I think Oak specifically brought it up, is that there's a lot of changes done between these two code bases that, as Oak says, they're kind of remnants of TG's no RP, because TG basically, I don't want to insult TG, but I'm going to say at least at the time of pre-base, it was designed around no RP. It wasn't really designed. It was designed to be a fun game. It wasn't really designed to facilitate not ERP, RP. So
It was much more a mechanic focus experience than roleplay focus.
ERP?
No ERP.
Woo-hoo.
I
swear
think
to
what
fuck
a
God.
lot of
Legalizing.
I think what a lot of people miss when we talk about medium RP is a lot of people see it as, okay, obviously a lot of people fucking exaggerate and think you have to fucking roleplay breathing and footsteps. But what I think people get wrong is that they see medium RP as like characters role playing with each other, like taking it seriously in that sense. I don't think that's really it. I don't really know how to explain this.
I think you're just
it's-
saying you doing your job.
yeah, I think okay. What I'm saying is, I think that the difference between medium and low RP is that in medium RP you can have essentially nothing. You don't have to be a part of the great antagonist versus station drama to have a good time and enjoy yourself. It's more about like doing your job and having those dynamic interactions and shenanigans on the station without, being worried about who's gonna win the round and how do I kill the antag and so forth.
Yeah, I'd say it's the difference between as a chemist, you're walking around, you see somebody do an obviously changeling thing, instead of going, oh my god, Ling, Sec at chapel, help, incinerate, you go, oh fuck, that was weird. And maybe you report something vague to security, like, hey, I saw some weird shit with the lizard, I'm not sure what's going on. You don't, even if you intentionally like kneecap the information you're feeding to the actual valid hunting jobs, so that it builds more of that role play experience instead of just like, oh, I know. It's when you look at this and you go, oh, I know this is a gangs, or oh, I know this is a wizard or a changeling, but you intentionally role play that you don't know. You do just enough for the story to organically develop, and then you go about your job. You go, shit, I'm not paid enough to deal with that bullshit, and you just go back to chemistry. You don't go make chloral hydrate. You just go make space loop and give it to the clown.
I mean,
Yeah, on that topic,
even
like back in the day, you used to have situations where some assistant who's a tourist from TG would like yell out a Ling in maint, and a lot of people on radio outside of security and command would just go, "What's a Ling?" Because they're RPing not knowing what a fucking changeling is, because they have no business knowing it, and it's not really their problem.
I mean,
This is,
even
this
if
is
people
one
would
thing-
just, even if
sorry,
people
go
would
on.
just go and report it to security, there's a link. That's already much better than the current. Oh, let me make a weapon capable of taking down a space alien because I saw one earlier.
I like to think of the RP situation like we're trying to reach some middle ground between like shitty Gary's Mud Dark RP with 12-year-old admins and like Opera or something. It's some middle that's like reminiscent of like C Lab 2021, if anyone remembers that, where it's like there is a plot and people are responding as characters to something that is happening, but it's still stupid. It's still, and I feel like that show really captures like the essence that you can like achieve in this game when you have like that certain level of like mutual cooperation in like a in like a in a mutual chaos, I guess is the way of phrasing it.
So we've spoken a lot about this issue. I'm gonna pause us talking about it. Is there anybody in the community or the staff team that would like to add and be unmuted? Also, just streamed. Why are you streaming? What? Why are you even? I thought that was just whatever. Anyway, is there anybody in the community that would like to be unmuted and add to this conversation?
While we're waiting on that, I did want to emphasize something the Darkstick said, that early on in this, that anti-RP is the most important problem, right? And I feel like personally there's no real way of, because there's no perfect medium RP solution to that. The high RP solution is to force people to like have an evil dialogue with every person they kill, which is ridiculous. And but the other option is just to like leave murder up to however they do it, and the natural progression is towards the most gaming option, which is just stupid and boring.
I don't think that putting the RP burden is really should be on the antag. I think it's mostly the burden is on the antag to power game it because somebody in the crew is trying to power game them. You need to get the valid hunters, not the valids, because I mean, come on. When you're a wizard, do you want to just like be playing this fucking clicky fast shooter game? No, you'd be playing Doom if you wanted that. If you had the chance to be able to do some silly magic speech and be an asshole to people over dialogue, you would absolutely do it because it's a fun power trip and it's more quality that way. But you can't do that because while you're typing out to somebody, some chemist is going to run by and shoot you up with a super drug, and all of a sudden you have epilepsy, you're blind, and you're a fraud.
I will
Because you
say
took
though, I will say though, specifically Wizard is an antag where we specifically have no meta shield. You can do what the fuck you want on Wizard round.
Yeah,
I don't know
it
if
was
necessarily
just an
I want to change that, but like,
Yeah, no.
He
I
was
was
a
just an
lot
example.
funner
I just
antag.
grabbed an antag.
Anyway, I'm gonna let JCat speak because he wanted to speak. So where are you,
Okay.
JCat? I can't find JCat. Oh my god, there's so many people here. Did he leave?
I unmuted him.
Oh, where is he?
Uh,
Oh, there he is. Okay, I'm blind. He's still muted though. I don't get it.
I remember one of my favorite Wizard
Okay.
rounds. Oh, is you?
JCat, I'm gonna kick you, and you should rejoin, and you should be able to speak.
You got to have push to talk on.
Also, yeah.
I remember one of my favorite Wizard rounds. I actually just bought 5 Apprentice Scrolls, and it was some of the funniest, most memorable shit I've seen in a long.
He should
I
be able
didn't
to
have any
speak.
power.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Hi. I feel like a lot of this RP stuff is being attributed to the players and to the sort of like the people not knowing how to roleplay or people not role-playing well enough, when I believe first and foremost it's very much a mechanics issue.
Right.
Things like being able to like the one of the reasons why you wait for the, like, if the wizard comes up and he starts talking and you can just run up and like click on him 3 times and he dies. Like, yes, that is a low RP thing, but the main reason that is a viable option is because people are really squishy in this game. They have, you have 100 health, and like if you take, like you can die in a matter of seconds, and I consider dying not like being strictly dead, but by the time you are in a position where you can no longer escape, that's basically death. So like in like 5 seconds, any person on the entire station could quote unquote kill you. And so that's
There's a lot
why
of things that do
antags
that.
don't RP at all. Because like if you RP, you're leaving yourself open, and anyone on the station can do that. So I think this is very strongly a mechanics issue, and maybe we should look to increasing the health pool and like removing like disablers and stuff from the game. That's my 2 cents.
Increasing the
That's
health is a
bold
neat
opinion.
idea. I haven't heard
Yeah,
that.
like
Well,
like,
he's not wrong. Like, you don't even have to die. You just need to get kneecapped. You take 20 damage, and all of a sudden you're hop.
If you're stunned, you might as well be dead. You might as well.
right, and
crawl.
if you're slowed down because you took too much damage, you're at such a severe disadvantage that it's hard to get back from that as well.
I will note that
I'm not on board
that
with
it actually should be.
enablers, but health.
I
will
think
know
the
that's
game
actually-
could be slowed down. As Asfi is saying, that just slowing death down, slowing stuns down, just slowing it down, making it so it's not like just all about the meme combat. So
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
okay, I'm gonna.
To add onto that though, I will note from the coder standpoint that like increasing the health should be pretty easy to implement. I believe there is a config option to change the damage multiplier on all damage, and that's just a simple tweak that could be done to immediately.
Yeah, that's functionally
without
the
this
same
change.
thing.
Okay, JCat,
I don't know.
reconnect after I kick you.
Yeah, J-Cat's voice is actually pretty cute, not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a cute
So
guy.
next person, Ludelf wanted to speak. Where are you, Mr. Ludelf?
Oh, yeah, Ludelf had like a lot of ideas.
Okay, I will be unmuting him. 1 sec. Okay, he has a role. Ludelf, can you speak?
I can.
Welcome.
Right. So regarding the roleplay thing, one thing that I think is really works against it is the fact that nobody plays security, because security is a very thankless job, and if you're a medical doctor that you don't have anything to turn to, if you know somebody is hunting you, if there's no security to turn to, then you're going to have a pretty big incentive to take that syringe gun and load it up with morphine or heparin or whatever.
Right.
So
I can understand
making
that.
making security a lot more interesting, a lot more attractive, a lot more rewarding to play, I think would go a long way towards giving antags the opportunity to, do their thing, and security to do their roleplay thing without, while giving you a more, like, especially as a staff, giving you a more like, hey, why the fuck are you armed up to the tits because there's something bad. If there's a very strong security force that is specifically there for you, and to add to that, it should feel rewarding for you to do your job, to feel as though you're doing something to change that. Like, if you're doing your job as a xenobiologist and all you do is hoard everything for yourself, then you don't feel like you're chipping at all. Whereas if you get the idea, if you are rewarded in one way or another for doing your xeno extracts, or adding power, doing some chemicals that you can give to security for them to be better at their job, or to some other stuff. I gave a suggestion to Alex Carr for that. Then
What now?
it the document I gave you. But anyway, if doing your job feels like you're helping other departments be safer or better, or something like that, it would also give you more incentive to do your job, be good at your job, and instead of focusing on, well, I'm going to arm myself up just to end the antag.
Here's a
And
question
that's
I
a
want to
good ass
ask.
point with security. Nobody playing it.
It is. It's one of those things where. Go on.
Oh, I actually have an idea for that. I never actually got around to it. I wanted to basically write up a bounty for porting miscreants from, is it Bay that has them, but adapting them slightly to fit us
Porting
more.
what?
Because I think that the problem with, I mean, I played a lot of Sick, but I think the main problem with playing Sick is that you kind of sit around. I will expand on that. You kind of sit around waiting for the round antag to show up, and then you fight it. Unless you have some Grey Tide or some other fun shit to deal with. Or the Clown, for example.
Attention.
But, I mean, you're not allowed to Grey Tide, so it's a bit, shit in that sense. But if you had
It definitely makes
Miscreant,
security the valid team.
yeah, see, Miscreants are essentially, they're like antag lights. They are generally rather non-disruptive. They have objectives that are like kinda well, they don't kill people, they don't really steal anything important, but they do often,
They cause some
commit minor crimes. Something for security to deal with that isn't just, here's your cultist, here's your nuke up, here's your traitor. Someone you can arrest for like a few minutes, and it's like they're not Grey Tiding, they're actually supposed to be doing that. And I think that kind of thing would make security a lot more interesting to play, because you'd actually, do more, handle like regular minor crimes, like actually valid harassment and breaking an entry and stuff like that.
I feel like that's sort of the game design doctrine behind the funny meme roles like mime and clown, is to serve as that kind of like people who have like that sort of license to honk that you're talking about, where like they can make minor crimes and just be annoying little cunts with everybody, and that's the so a way of rolling that out would be to explicitly give that kind of permission to mimes and clowns. That'd be one way of doing it, or for the miscreant thing, like you were suggesting.
I want to ask this. Based on Oak's description of miscreants, does that sound like something we would want in the game? Yes or no?
Does
or
anyone
maybe some modified version?
Does anyone have any like good idea of what it is and could explain it to everyone?
Personally, I would see that I agree that the intent of the clown and the mime and some of those roles were all ready to have that role, but they don't have too many tools to achieve that.
I mean,
you say that.
Getting those tools is part of the adventure.
Yeah, you say that though, but clowns have their ways. Speaking of
fucking trust Mojo on this.
Clowns have their ways. Yeah, Yogurt is actually Yogurt's played a lot of clowns have.
I have 2,000 hours on clown. Thank you.
Yeah,
Most of
Clown,
them.
Clown is
God.
mime is just either you know nothing about the game or your final form ascension and you don't need anything because you can just get it. But something that you all brought up with the security, I wasn't aware of how much like the lack of security feeds into the no RP.
Mhm.
But something else that also like feeds into shitsec is security. You're essentially waiting to get jumped. If you aren't being a constant asshole to everybody that gives shitsec the shitsec name, then you're just going to get jumped by somebody and boom, there's your life. You've failed at your job, security sucks, and you've spent an hour just waiting to get randomly jumped and stunned and beaten to death. So,
I wanna.
is there any way that we could like get security members back into the round as security? I feel like my stupid brain goes, is there some way to like you just respawn as your base security officer? You have to
Liberal
roleplay that you
use
don't
of
know
the-
stuff. But
I want to
like,
point out
I feel like
specifically
power
one
gamers
acting
would
tag
use that.
You could
I
do
feel
that
like-
with the ERTs from admins. It's basically security, but
Yeah, but that's overboard. But Mojo, what were you saying?
In short, I think one of the worst examples of what you're talking about is fucking Blood Cult. I think Blood Cult has been like bastardized by TG, and it's just like you are minding your own business as anyone. He comes up and gives you that red hand reach around, and you're on the ground. And then you know what's even the least RP? They drag you onto that room, and if you're a sec officer, you just fucking detonate,
Explode.
Yeah, and it's just like. Yeah, that's a whole topic on itself, conversion and tags, which I think
been a
we'll save
while.
for later.
Another thing with conversion and tags, just quick. It's been a while since I've been watching the games, but do we have anyone that like removes implants from security during like rev rounds and stuff anymore, or is that just like an ancient ritual?
You'll see certain people do it. Like
Clock Cult does it sometimes for security officers.
But
Sick
like you said,
name.
we can save conversion and tags.
I've never seen a single cult bother to remove implants for everything. The only time that happened was when gangs had the implant brick.
Oh yeah,
And-
but we removed that.
Yep. Anyways, real quick, like I don't think it's fair to say that mimes and clowns have the tools to reflect that. If you compare a person that just took the role versus a person who has 200 hours, like not everybody
Well,
has
then-
200 hours in one. Day.
Then go play every other role until you can ascend to final form clown or be a like that's part of the shtick is that oh my god the clown saved the station, he's a retard that can't pick up most things, he's in flappy shit. Like that's the fun of it.
And
I'm
that's where
gonna
the con-
let's pause this for 1 second. I'm just gonna look if there's any questions that tie into this on the group questions, because this is a very general question. We've been on it for 40 minutes. Fun fact. And I do want to get to the other questions, so let me just see if there's any questions that can tie into this. Here's one. This is to the head coders. I think it would also apply to council. Common sense would say that money would have a big part in a medium RP server. Are there any plans on expanding the economy system to give it more than use than simply buying stuff for vendors, perhaps with gambling? And also somebody tied into this, is there any plans to expand gambling and other than the slot
Two
machines?
questions.
I'm also now going to be muting the people who joined in the conversation. Thank you very much for your input, but we're getting quite a lot of people who are not council now talking over the top of each other, and we're getting hard to actually get our words out. So, thank you for your contribution. I'm muting you now.
Is there anybody, I do want to pull for, is there anybody else in the community who would like to talk on the topic of medium RP? Anybody else?
I'm going to talk about the economy now. When talking about economy, it's important to remember how it came to be. Economy was originally made by TG by Goofball, but the coder that made it and maintained it has been GitHub banned during the development process. So basically, the current economy system we have in the code base is unfinished because, well, the guy got banned before he could finish it. Having more features tie into economy would sure be nice, but our coder team is volunteers. All of it is volunteers, really. We cannot force anyone to code something. The only way we can do that is with a bounty. But with a bounty, we need a clear idea of what needs to be coded in. So we pretty much need idea amends to make specifications for bounties so that the feature could get coded by someone.
Mm-hmm. I definitely use the bounty system. The bounty system is a whole topic into itself, but I do want to pull suggestions from the bounty system in order to get implemented. So if you have specifically ones about the economy, I will be listening to those. Me and Xantam were kind of going to be dealing with the bounty system, but just bounty it up. Bounty up any suggestions you have about the economy system, big or small.
If someone's interested in like working on the code side of an economy system but doesn't have like economic autism, then you can feel free to hit me up because I have economy autism and I'd gladly chip in with that. I just can't code for shit.
Excellent.
Basically, if anyone has code knowledge but no ideas, talk to Oak.
One thing, just a fun fact on the topic of Goof. He's quite the character. He at one point somebody posted criticism on one of his PRs, and his response was to post goatsy on that PR to piss him off. Yeah, he's one of the few people ever to get banned from GitHub. But what Alex Carr was saying is absolutely right. He was banned for months right after posting the bare bones version of.
He was banned for saying the word retard on GitHub.
Oh yes, that too. Good times.
So ultimately, if we want the economy expanded, just like any coding project, you need a special kind of autistic love.
The original quote that got him banned was, ATMs are fucking retarded.
Monster, do you have anything to add on this question to the head coders about economy? Tie it into Monster Mouse?
Yes, you pay money in order to not get sucked out an airlock. No, you pay money to use an airlock. There you go.
So I think there's a couple more questions that are going to tangent off this medium RP. Here's one that I think is pretty relevant to this discussion. To Council, what is the plan to handle the power gaming the server sees regularly? Submitted by Misa Like Pie. Okay. So, on the topic of power gaming, that's a complicated one. It honestly depends. If you ask me, am I fine with the state of power gaming? It honestly depends on who's on the server. And it also depends on the time of day. If there's a comfy period at night where there's almost, to me, no
What
power
are we
gaming.
talking about? Sorry.
We're talking about this question was specifically what are we going to deal with the power gaming that the server sees regularly. So for me, in the middle part of my day, I see quite a lot of power gaming from certain people. At the end part of my day, it goes quite down. So I think since it's, for me, it's specifically about certain people, it should be kind of like an admin issue where those certain people get dealt with. But that's quite hard depending on the situation, the context of the round, who they are, things like that. It makes it hard. I think we're doing a decent enough job on enforcing power gaming, but it also depends. It kind of is like a time of day, certain people thing to me. That's my opinion.
What I do about that.
Go on, Oak.
Okay. Well, what I do about that, I just came up with this. What I do is I'd encourage watch listing people for kind of power gaming more, so that we'd actually. I mean, some people are probably going to hate this, but we'd actually like actively keep an eye on the people who constantly kind of just walk on that
toe the line.
Yeah, who constantly
that's the
line. So
that's what it fucking is.
Yeah, just watch those people and make them stop doing that. You don't even have to necessarily ban anyone here. You just need to keep an eye on them and tell them when they're doing that to just, hey, you're going a bit far here. You gotta cool it down a notch, and then you're good. I think that would be productive.
Yeah, dude, it's just like the one kid that blows off his finger with fireworks, so they get banned across the entire state. The real problem with the valid hunting isn't with the vast majority of the player base. Either they don't want to do it or they're incapable of doing it and they're bad. It's like just this 5-10% group of people that know just how far they can push it before they're going to get in trouble, and they just tiptoe to the very edge of that. So we'll probably just need
It
to
only takes 3 or 4 people to completely fuck over an attack. You don't need 10 people doing it, just 3 people at once.
Yeah, and it
So-
snowballs because once people start power gaming, it's just gonna get worse because you have to power game to compete with the power gamers.
And then what they'll do is a lot of those power gamers is they'll get an okay, like, I'm allowed to do X. And then they'll take this one admin's permission and they'll apply it all the time in different ways, trying to construe it to let them push it all that more. And then if somebody else tries to get on them, they're like, oh, well, Ludolf said that this was okay, or Trump said that this was okay. And then before you know it, they're just trying to pick and pit all the different admin rulings against each other. So if we want to kick that in the balls, we have to collectively hold hands, sing kumbaya, and give them one power thrust together.
And something I want to get in is, and I think admins could stand to just talk to people more, even just use subtle messages to just give people like a heads up that hey, the direction you're going in is kind of not good. Tone it down so they know in advance instead of just stopping it after the fact. Just nudge people in the right direction a bit so that they kind of get the area they're operating in and they don't go too
I
far.
have a funny story about this. There's this one time. It was one of my few admin complaints. I think I have about 3 ever. But one of the admin complaints I had was I was doing a specific thing. I was trying to give a trader a specific antag or an item, a TC trade, right? And I was doing it in a bathroom that was bolted. I bolted the bathroom so no one comes in. But some dude comes while I'm kind of just fiddling through the spawner menus and unbolts it and sees a pile of items. I think it was back when you couldn't buy stands as regular traders. Yes. So I was giving him one. And he saw it and immediately started screaming, so and so has hollow projector injector. He has fuck, what are they called? Not stands. Guardian, whatever the fuck. Anyway, so
Parasites.
I subtle message him. I don't want to boink him because I'm like, okay, let's pretend you didn't see that. I was like, you didn't see that. Pretend you didn't see that. Move on with your life. Quit shouting, right? And then he helps specifically to tell me, like, what are you telling me? You can't do that. That it's not your job as admin. I saw what I saw. I'm going to keep screaming. I'm like, okay, but you weren't supposed to see that. I was doing something to help the round be more interesting because it was more interesting to see one of those back then. And he goes on and is basically just like, you overstepped your bounds by telling me to not see what I saw. You can't do that. I'm making an admin complaint. I think Oak handled it at the time and was just like, fuck off. You
Yeah,
dumb retard.
I recall that.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, like, you try to enforce these rules even subtly. You just try to be subtle with the rules. I didn't want to be like, if you pretend you saw that, I'm going to ban you. I'm going to note you. I was like, just please, just for the sake of round, pretend you didn't see that. And he was just like, so on the topic of just, enforcing things subtly, I just wish the players would be more skeptical to subtle influence, than that. It ties into the power gaming because he wanted that guy validated. He really did. So, so I think, let me see if I can tie another thing because I think we talked a lot about power gaming. Let's see, anything that ties into medium RP. Blah 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 blah.
Moja, I have a quick point of order here.
Uh-huh.
Just maybe don't I mean, I don't really mind it, but we probably don't have that much time and we have a lot of issues, so maybe don't trail off on these anecdotes,
Okay,
talking
well,
about Goof and this specific situation.
okay, sure.
The pointer.
I'll calm down. I'm just really hyped up and I took my Adderall, so. Let's see. Here's one. This is to council. What are the thoughts on making appearance of Syntcom characters more common, such as investigators, to add opportunities to RP and encourage RP? This is submitted by Misa Like Pie.
I've always encouraged staff to do that, especially when it doesn't like majorly interfering around. That kind of shit is fun. I mean, don't do it too much, obviously, but like what I personally always did was if someone likes asks for an ERT when it's not really warranted, I'll just send a CENTCOM inspector to like figure out the situation and report back. And it usually ends up in pretty fun RP as long as the person who gets selected for the inspector is willing to actually engage with the role. And I think it really adds to the game.
I also agree. I think it really adds to the game. I really like Hopek's PR on this. He has specifically a PR up that really shuffles the inventories around, because one of the problems is like some of the ERTs just have like pulse weapons, and that just gets out of control. But like his shuffling of the inventories of them really goes away to make them less valid hunty. Like we're specifically not sending them to send an additional sec team, if that makes sense. They're there to investigate, help with RP, and such. Does anybody have anything else to add or would like to be unmuted to add to this topic?
Well, just before the ERT PR can be merged, I'm waiting to have more staff input on it.
Okay, that's fair. Because some staff did specifically, they're like, oh, they shouldn't have this and this ERT, etc. So we'll look into that more, and that should help with the busing of ERTs and such. Go on.
Would more like modularity in the loadouts be something that's relatively easily done, or would that become overly complex?
Define modularity.
More options, essentially. So
you want to be able to send an ERT, but without kitting them to take on the whole god.
Basically, like kind of more steps in this. Well, like just so that it wouldn't escalate so fast between the levels. So that you have more. You'd have like easily more control over roughly what they get, so that you don't have to, manually start deleting.
I have a random idea, and I have a very small brain, so I want to fire it before I forget it. What if you had, like, you know how there's an ERT room where you can go and you can suit up? What if you like tripled that, and there were rooms full of different tiers of gear and how serious it can get? And instead of spawning an ERT with all those weapons, you spawn the ERT, and then you open the corresponding room for stuff that they're allowed access to. So, like, the top room might have a little mini bomb, and then the middle room could have C4, and then blah blah blah. Maybe the first room has some good healing stuff, but not a med beam. You feel what I mean? Like the different tiers for all the different, like, engineer, medic, all that.
It would be, that's a good idea, but it would be hard to stop people from taking everything in a certain room, or everything in all rooms, for example.
It locked by default, and then make it unbreakable so they don't just blow it open with something.
That is a good point, though. Go on.
I think what he means is you can't prevent someone from taking everything in a room, so either you end up grouping up stuff that you might want to allow something in the room but not something else, or you make 20 rooms with everything.
I think one of the things is with our current ERT armory, the ERT like when you spawn an ERT, you have the choice to give them armory access or you don't. And the problem is that if you don't give them armory access, they kind of have very limited gear. But if you do give them armory access, boy, do they get a lot of shit. They get guns, set gear,
everything.
They get everything.
More than they can carry, real.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to send an ERT that doesn't have anything you couldn't get on the stage.
That would be nice too.
Like just a way to pull Ghost back into the game and throw something in an Antec that's kicking a lot of ass.
Here's a specific fun idea. Who would be on board for a whitelist for CENTCOM Commander being an actual role that players can pick?
Ooh, wait.
That would include their big fat fucking gun that they get, and it would be a very.
I thought you meant for like an event. Yeah, right off the bat. No, you're gonna get the same 3 people doing it all the time. They're gonna show up and they're gonna make the captain wear a dress.
Like,
which I'm fine with as like an event, but
Like at that point, you
As a
might as
rule.
well just bring back 5.0, to be honest, and that was a really fucking stupid idea.
I
What's
think
5.0?
it might be.
What did you? 5.0 was like a whitelisted sick role. I'm not sure if it whitelisted or if it was admin only, but it's basically like just sick on speed. That was like
Yeah, was
the
it?
kind
Was
of
it
man.
those Men in Black assholes?
It was like a very.
I think something
hyped
that
sick
could be
officer.
interesting is adding a central command officer that can make a CC announcement and has a camera console to look on the station, but can't really do anything else other than report shit for admins to perhaps act on it.
Alexandria raises a good point in the chat. He says only non-power gamer confirmed our peers. I could totally see a whitelist for being able to, you know how you can message central command from the console and be like, oh shit, we need help. What if you could hit a button that's like request liaison, and then if somebody on the server has been whitelisted for that role, they get a little notification pop up saying, hey, they're calling one. Would you like to take it up? But then have that be a whitelist, not just an event. So only if you've been cleared to do it before can you do it. Just a random idea. I'm just throwing shit at the wall.
So let's see. I'm just trying to knock out any questions related to medium RP, increasing RP. I think we're kind of running out. We've quite touched on this subject for quite the amount of time. Let's see.
I'd
Go on.
actually like to hear Darkstick talk about it. If he
Oh, that's a
wants
good
to.
question. Alright, that's a good thing. Darkstick, would you like to talk?
If you don't actually stammer in your voice, we're gonna fucking ban you.
Play nice, Josh.
This is, you know that this is me nice.
I know,
The
and
meaner
that
I am, the more I like.
You can give me something to read and I will stutter speak for it.
Time.
It doesn't look like you
autism
say anything.
again. No.
Let's keep this train rolling. If Darkstick pops back up, then we'll give him the chance.
Here's another one on the topic of power gaming and valid hunting. This is to council. Will silicons ever get solid rules on how law sets are supposed to be interpreted to reduce the amount of valid hunting done by silicons by using the vague and open nature of laws? Submitted by Fierce Boy / Donger Boy. Fierce Boar / Donger Boy.
Okay.
So on this,
I don't see how you have a
I'm gonna
freaking guide for this. Yeah, okay. If something comes up for clowns, you run away with that. But for those of you that don't know, AI is my thing. Like, that is my thing. I don't want to do anything but be silicon. If I'm a human, that's just awful. And back in like years ago when I was doing this as a player, silicons did not have the reputation that they now seem to have for being just a valid hunting thing. I've been on the server and I've seen people like actively ignore Law 2 orders because Law 1 you could be hurting someone, or essentially Law 2 is just bullshit now. Like, I haven't seen boards pay attention to it, when back before you could get silicon banned for like being a little slow to act on a Law 2, or even if accidentally you got yourself a human killed. We had much stricter enforcement, and I actually made a forum post about this recently about why I fucking hate video games, because it appeals. Okay, I'm not doing that, but I do think, and I brought this up with staff, that we need to more strictly enforce AI and silicon roleplay. Even to the point where if you accidentally get a human killed on Asimov, that could lead you to get a ban because you did not act within that law set. I think it will absolutely. It'll handle a lot of those power gamers, because I know for me, when I played AI, I didn't give a fuck about the objective or green text or anything. Antags could actually play to that. I know some players that knew when I was the AI, they'd bait security into hitting them. Then I'd lock security up and help them steal whatever, as long as they weren't harming humans. And I want to get it back to that, where Antags and players are more comfortable in manipulating and fucking with the AI interpretation of laws to their benefit. More like they're comfortable doing that, so they aren't afraid of, oh snap, this guy's just going to twist this into the silliest interpretation in order to valid me. I think that's
to
the
Slum.
fun of playing Silicon.
I have legitimately had an AI try to argue that being one human on Asimov does not prevent them from calling out the ant.
Oh my fuck! Oh goodness gracious!
Yes, because like at this point, like if you're gonna have people like that, then antags are just gonna be disincentivized to actually one human people, for example, just because there is the risk that the AI will be a dick and break the rules.
Dude, I got a note once upon a time for, I don't know if any of you remember I Can Hear Colors, but he used to have a 1250 character
Yes.
pre-typed
Oh, God.
essay that he would upload his laws, and I got notes because I messed up on some of the interpretation. I didn't mess up, I was absolutely right, but that's how serious that we took AI enforcement. That
Well,
because I could have potentially misinterpreted this fucking essay that I was in.
if it makes you feel better, the person who gave you that note was Chaos. So just saying. Anyway, on the topic of this, I've tried to rewrite Silicon Law twice, and every single time I've had the worst impossible task ahead of me of rewriting Silicon Law. At one point a long time ago, we had Silicon Law in the rules. It was or Silicon rules in the rules. It half worked. There were a lot of issues with it, and council voted to remove it. And I'm like, there's a middle ground between having it in and having it half work, and having it not in and having the situation that we're currently in. I've tried to rewrite it twice, and every time I've had severe roadblocks in the way of like it getting done, especially in terms of what the fuck do we even want out of AIs and Borgs. So it's good to hear feedback on this, because if you give me feedback on this will definitely help me rewrite Silicon Law. Because I had the worst fucking time trying to do that. I basically got nowhere. I was just gonna shove some absolute asinine nonsense, and I didn't want to do
actually have
that.
some thoughts on that.
I think we need. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think that Silicon policy could be brought back, but it should be not part of the rules. It should be more of a voluntary guide to AI, or well, to silicons, for people who don't really understand how it works, just so we're clear about how laws work and such. But it wouldn't be something we reference while enforcing the rules. It's just like a helper.
I could see like a little flowchart for You're talking about like understanding law priority and how they interact with each other.
Yeah, just to help people understand how AIs work. Then a thing we should be doing is we should be harder on silicons who fuck up. I know I've personally been a bit too soft on them, but when a silicon does fuck up with their laws, they do adversely affect the round, and a lot of people in that round a lot. So we should actually be much harder on silicon bans.
I do agree
a third
with that.
thing we might do is consider the possibility of making the requirement to play AI even stricter. More time first just playing on the server until you can play Cyborg, and then more time as a Cyborg before you can play AI. I think better AIs will, well, it affects so much that it's actually important.
I agree with that. I know that.
I think he wants to speak. Let me give that to him.
Just for a quick example, I remember Kettle, KTL. I have a Borg note on her when I was like near the teleporter. I accidentally bumped into a human and sent them into the teleporter, which led them partly into space. And she gave me a note for that. It was entirely accident. It was obviously an accident, but it still led to human harm, which was a violation of my laws. That's how much more seriously it used.
Right. So
yeah, go ahead.
So doing it for Asimov is viable because it's just 3 laws that you can, give plenty of examples, give plenty of everything. But the event of, ion laws that add a massive list of potential things to the AI that have resulted in a lot of trouble. Like, for example, the most troublesome issue I remember was one time that the AI got the ion law. The place for murder is the station. And they interpreted that as I must plasma flood, of course. So you might want to rethink that event if you are going to try to add valid interpretations for every single law.
No, what we should be doing is adding a guide on how to interpret laws, not like a guide on how to read Asimov, a guide on how to read laws in general, because I think that is the fundamental problem with people who play AI. They don't really understand like the entire thought process behind AI laws. They don't understand ordering and priorities, and they don't really get what happens when you have conflict. They don't know what to do when laws don't really make sense. They don't
I
know
agree
when
with that. You need a PEMDAS for AI.
There's also
Yeah.
the fact that
Or
most AI, when they start playing out, they start being on the side of the crew instead of their own neutral silicon side of respecting their laws.
Definitely.
For the example that Oak gave of the place for murder is the station, that's as far from my interpretation of that would be that's just a definition. It's defining the place for murder as being the station, and it does not take priority over the Asimov laws that are already there because it's just defining the place for murder as being the station.
Yeah, that could be any kind of murder. It doesn't. Yeah, you should still be playing normal Asimov.
I
With
mean,
that law set. You shouldn't go.
I would call the shuttle to get the people out of the place for murder.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, that's
So that's one good thing you point out. That's a definition. That was actually a part of old Silicon policy. I kept saying Silicon law. I meant Silicon policy. Silicon
that's also
policy,
a big
hard to
part
find
of-
definitions.
That's
Yeah.
also a big part of interpreting the corporate law set, how the definitions interact with the priority system.
Yo, corporate's just a piece of shit in general.
No,
Fuck that law
corporate's
set.
great. But one thing that I realized way too late is that what we really need to do is that when we get a new moderator, we really need to, like, someone actually needs to sit down with them and discuss how silicons work, just to see that they understand it. Because nothing gets as confusing when you have newish staff that are trying to help players and they don't really understand it. You're going to get a shit ton of confusion, and that ends up with a situation where the player will fuck up and it won't be the player's fault. So we really need to take silicon policy, or how silicons work, into account more with training new moderators.
That kind of stuff usually came up in Alexandria's interviews he used to run when we used to pose questions to new staff. I'm pretty sure we've replaced that with council approving mods. Maybe introduce some aspect of that back, but I do agree.
Specifically, I did pass a vote recently that new staff aren't accepted until they get training, and I've yet to really hard define what exactly should be in that training. So far, it's just an explanation of the buttons, but that could also go into it. Just explanations of silicons and things like that. Just making sure that's absolutely clear before they're accepted as staff. ASV said re-implementing this would be decent, and he pointed to the silicon policy. Yes, I would like to rework that and get that in some form or fashion. I don't know what exactly. I've had trouble in the past with it, but I would like to see that back in. I think we've said our piece on this, so I want to move to the next one.
Just bring back
see.
Asimov round start all the time. Fuck every other law set.
There's a lot of questions about our not ERP. God damn it. Fucking
We'll do that later. Don't worry.
Here's one. To council, will random searches get a more RP-oriented process instead of the current common baton and cuff, which really doesn't promote role play? Submitted by Takahiru. So for this one, I think this is also what we were talking about. It gameplay ties into the RP level, where if people can just if you say, go up to somebody, you want to random search them, and you say, hey, I'm random searching you, they kind of just run away or disarm you, or if they're an antag, stun you, kill you, shoot you, do whatever. There's a lot of things that even non-antags can do to interfere with a random search. So it kind of goads and forces security officers into having to stun immediately, cuff, and just doing what they want.
Yeah,
I
it's the
noticed this
classic. The sec officer rolls up next to you. He stops. You're like, "Oh shit, he's typing!" And you take off before he can do it. And it's this entire thing of him running into your screen, stopping, running into your screen, stopping because you just keep running away. He can't actually say, "Hey, I'm trying to search you," because you're running too fast.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed this on other servers. For example, on Colonial Marines, you're very slower on Colonial Marines compared to Yogs, and they actually have it in their rules and their space law that you can't just randomly walk up, baton somebody, cuff them. You have to give them the due process. Say, hey, you are being randomly searched. You are being arrested. So I think this ties a lot into gameplay and like just kind of fixing that up in a lot of ways. Yeah, like real American cops.
CM
They
is
should
a
shoot
bad
first.
CM is a bad example as there's no real hand tag except the very obvious xenomorphs.
Yeah, that is true. It's just something I noted that other servers do. So just wanted to point that out. Does anybody have anything to add towards this conversation? Anybody want to be unmuted to add to this? Good to have you, Darkstick. Yeah, so people keep saying set gas masks. I would love to see them say random search, because right now they have a lot of random lines like, God, I swear one of them is like, I will shoot you if you move. It's just like,
It's
They
I
should
think
don't
that
move
does
screw.
apply.
It says don't move screw.
I think we should use Theos's hold-up system more.
oh yeah, that too. Isn't that in the game?
I think so.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
only
security
really
hailer still is.
It's only really useful with tasers or with disablers. It's pretty much pointless.
Yeah.
Either using a real lethal gun or just a taser.
Maybe we could code some in that if an officer does that to you, you get double the disabler stamina damage or something if he does the hold up. I'm not sure. That might break it a little. Not sure.
I have a very touchy
I
feely
mean,
solution to this.
then you
Go
would
on.
see
I mean, there's
usage of it in combat.
Yeah,
People
true.
doing combat holdups.
there's a lot of players here right now. I think what you should take into consideration with the shitty ass just get stun baton and random searched is when you play security, think of how you feel about it when that happens to you. And even though it might increase your risk of dying as sec, try to not be an asshole about it. And then maybe, they'll carry on. And if, the player base kind of agrees to it collectively that this is how we're going to play now, we're just going to encourage the more RP approach to stop and search, then it'll be better for everyone.
I play sec quite a bit along with silicons. Usually as sec, I learned that the best method of stopping someone is spam pointing them, because you can't really talk, so you just point. I usually ask why they are in a public place, if they can give a reason that isn't completely bullshit, just like collecting floor tiles, I don't know what. I would let them walk off, but if they don't, I would stun, cuff, and search.
Yeah, if Lumix ever gets around to actually moving beyond off of Internet Explorer and onto Chromium Embedded Framework, I will think about adding voice chat to the game. This is not an ERP server, so I can live with there being voice chat.
Oh God, I don't know about that one, but
there's going to be so many people vocally ERPing and screaming the N-word before we can get around to wrangling them.
I mean, voice chat could be done even with currently as is by using the browser in background as a recorder.
Okay, but how do you freaking moderate that later?
Yeah.
Like, there's no logs.
It's impossible. It'll be a fucking shit show. I mean, some kind of text-to-speech system, maybe?
That's what we were talking about, building into the sec.
Yeah, I'm a Slav on this. This is a fucking clown mode. We ain't getting voice.
Text
Well, let's get this
to
straight.
speech is a really bad idea.
Dude, I can barely stand the freaking new AI box. The new AI box is obnoxious. I can't stand.
I mean,
I mean, I mean, no, wait. I mean speech to text. Actually, yeah, other way around.
All right, so Mojo, we want to move on to another question. Wrap up with
Yes.
this one. Was
I think this one's here's one that's also tied into medium RP. There's a lot of medium RP questions. This is to everyone. What will happen with game modes that leave little to no room for gameplay? Example, Nukies, with the will to push towards medium RP submitted by Wolf Entries. So on this topic, we actually talked about this a little bit before, with gameplay tying into role play, and I think we're all in agreement that like certain things about this game, especially certain game modes, really inhibit role play. So for example, to me one of the biggest egregious ones is Cult, Blood Cult. um I think their like mantra of just you run up with your like fucking red hand, you stun somebody, you give an officer before he can even say a word. He can't say a word because you mute him when you stun him. It's just one of those game modes that it hard coded RP out of the game mode. So that round's not going to really have any RP. There's no room for RP in it, and that's a problem. That's kind of a TG holdover, and it's kind of one of those big things like how do we rework the entire mode into it having even a semblance of RP. This is not all game modes that are like this are an issue to me. For me, for example, I love Nukies. Nukies is one of my favorite modes. I think it's just kind of hilarious and fun when there's just somebody who's so lethal that they're coming to kill people, they're coming to kill officers, they're coming to get that disc and detonate the station. That's good gameplay to me. War
I
Ops to
think
an
the
extent is the
current
same.
I think the current RP level on war game modes, that being Nuki and Wizard, is okay. Uh, there's still spots to do RP. It's generally not a really good idea to RP with the antagonist, but I think it's a good thing to have once in a while around where it's just fuck the meta shield, fuck the rules like that, and just team versus team.
So,
I mean,
God,
we
I
pretty
lost my
much always consider new cops to be kind of outside of the rest because there's actually like valid RP reasons for it being like it's an antagonist
for
MMO
everybody.
where if you lose, you're all gonna die. So that essentially gives justification to an assistant trying to bum rush a fucking arm to the teeth new cop with a fucking toolbox because that's just the game mode and it's fun. It doesn't happen too often. It's just like it's a nice way to get all that fucking valid hunting reflex shit out.
I think in particular pre-base there was a lot less of these modes. I think pretty much the only ones I can really think of are Nukies and Wizard. But now and there's old Blob, round
Yeah,
start
Blob.
Blob. So now we have a lot more, especially with reworked Clock Cult. Clock Cult, oof. It's like I like Clock Cult, but it is a big oof in terms of like the RP of the server. Where I know Mr. Onion's gonna hate me for this, but you know, it really sucks the RP out of the game. Uh, I still think it's a fun mode, but it's also on the topic of just since there's so many modes that are like this, Blood Cult, Clock Cult, Nuke Ops, War Ops, Blob. It's just there are modes not designed for RP. In my opinion, I think one thing is if we made a great bounty towards getting a like maybe a new antag that was more RP oriented, like Fox Raiders. Just saying. So you know.
Well, I mean, Ling is all.
Words.
I have no issue with Vox Raiders. I think it's a great thing. Maybe a bit similar to the Pirates, but the main issue for Vox Raiders not being in the game is because no one has PR'd it yet.
You know,
Yes.
on the subject of Vox Raiders, a long time ago on Paradise Station, I added an event where like traders can come to the station and like trade various items with the people on the station. Yeah, we could consider adding those.
I think definitely Antag's based around not killing everyone, or it's not like you stop these Antags or you lose, or you red text or anything like that. If it's an Antag geared towards different things, like you were saying trading, that's good. I even like pirates. They don't really add that much RP, but pirates are fun because they're not about murdering everyone; they're about stealing.
No, they are about murdering any
not
resistance
everyone.
on the stage.
Yeah, if you
Everyone they
stop.
see.
Okay, well, I'm fairly sure we did a vote on that. I can't remember.
To build on something Mo just said, it never actually occurred to me that this would be the case, but you keep bringing up pre-base, and I hadn't thought about it in a long time. The compared pre-base and how we have now, there are so many more game mechanics and all the different antags and new antags left and right. With pre-base, because there were so many fewer mechanics, the RP was more where the meat of the game was. Where now each mode has its 2 to 4 times as complex as it used to be in the past. So you can lose yourself in all the different mechanics and actually operating within that game mode. Whereas before, you could do this, you could do this, but all of the fun was in how each person used those mechanics, not which mechanics they were going to use. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. It's definitely something that resulted from rebasing to TG, where they hard code how the game should be played into the round. Mickey, however the fuck you say that name, they bring up nightmares. They ask Murderbone Antag, RP Antag. I've actually seen you RP with that Antag, which blew my mind, because normally it's like, I have fucking sword arm, I'm gonna go stab people in the darkness, and that's one of those things where I don't even know how to begin with nightmares. They're just kind of there. They're kind of like a TG remnant. I think people have fun with them, so I don't really bring up an issue with them. But they are so something that doesn't really add any RP.
Again,
Nightmare is Cosmic Ashwalker, but you don't click the pod.
Nightmares have this. Nightmares have the same issue as many other intags in this game, is that if you don't kill anyone on sight that sees you, they will kill you on sight. They will bring out a flash out of nowhere, flash you, bring out flashlights, cremate you, and you're over.
Yeah, it also is on the topic. Like, they didn't. Nightmares aren't equipped to do anything besides murder and destroy things, so hard to really
If
get
you
any
wanted
RP out of
to
that.
solve it,
I don't know.
the only solution I could see is whitelisting Nightmare.
I kind of disagree on that. That you're instantly gonna get nightmare. I've been able to get away with just all spending the entire round doing nothing but just breaking lights and not get validated at all.
However, have been in the situation of I have pointed out the rogue AI that is hidden in main, destroyed it.
Yes, that was me.
Walked up to someone and said, "Hey, I've killed your rogue AI problem," and they've killed me instead, and still carried on looking for the rogue AI who I have killed because they didn't believe me. Because I'm a nightmare, and why the hell would I even try to help you out?
Yes, that was me you murdered.
Oh yeah, I remember. So yeah, that.
So it is very kill on sight for some people.
Yeah.
Speaking of game modes, I think we should consider using a bounty system to. If anyone has any ideas for actually expanding on Traitor as a game mode or making it more varied, just building up on that, because I think that Traitor is essentially the central game mode of SS13, and it is the best one. It just gets old when it's played too often, essentially. And there are only so many things the traders can do. So just building on that game mode, I think, would add a lot to the game and help.
Traitor and Lings are pretty much the iconic game modes of Space Station 13.
Yeah, so they could use more variation and just more things to do, really.
Can Mouth still roll with other game modes? Did we ever add that back?
No, that. So it was like that, and then a council vote specifically made it so Mouth was its own thing. Before pre-base, it was Malph's own thing. After rebase, Malph was mixed up with Traitor. Now it's back to being its own mode.
Isn't it both? Isn't there a mouth
There's mouth
AI
and
that?
trader AI.
I remember back pre-base, you could roll mouth with any mode. I can remember because I would have I remember I cut deals with Shadowlings. I've cut deals with Colts as the mouth AI, and it really added a lot more variation. But I do think this all ties back to ultimately with the antags that are going to murder bone. Every single person you run across, that's an instant game theory. Are they just going to immediately yeet me? It goes back to mechanics. The focus of the game isn't on the people that you're interacting with, which is what Space Station 13 is supposed to be about. It's about all the little doohickeys that you can get and all the lava land loot and all the different mechanics that this antag has and this antag has. If you really want to go to this like medium RP that people seem to
If I
want,
could speak for a second, Nish has confirmed that the mouth AI that has the powers to doomsday and stuff like that is its own game mode, but there's still a traitor AI that can't use those powers. Carry on.
Okay, so my point being that pretty much the core problem is still going to be there. We're just looking at a lot of leaves at the end of this tree instead of the trunk, being that everyone here clearly wants the focus of the gameplay and the replayability to live in their ability to interact with other players and make memorable experiences, more so than making this antag more complicated or touching up this damage value or changing this mechanic. We really need to focus broadly, like as a team, a community, and a framework, on building more of the players being the focus of what gameplay goes on, more so than adding features.
I think we've discussed this one pretty good. I'm gonna move on to the next one. This is not really tying to. I'm gonna see if there's any more medium RP. Here's one that's kind of a weird one. To all, if we are moving towards medium RP, will Catgirl / Probation be removed in exchange for maybe some cool exclusive donor races? So on this topic, I don't like the idea of any donor race that has any sort of advantage. That's just like, not okay. That's kind of like morally not okay if you pay to get an advantage. I know they don't have to be. For example, Probation has no advantages. You're just literally a human with cat ears speaking hello, my kitty. So that also depends. We've tried to have snails before. That was a whole ordeal. We had to try to have snail people. And I didn't really work out. It didn't really work out because of some coder politics with Time Green. Dr. Derp requests the mic because he is Mr. Snailman, so I will give him the mic. In 1 sec. I will give you the opportunity to speak your snail speak. Let me see. Okay, you can talk. Derp, you can talk.
You got to use push to talk, boy.
Test. Aha, there we go.
You
I
can
thought
hear
it
you.
was right alt. It was left
Yeah.
alt. Snails were never actually legitimately tried before as a race. I should bring up. They first got coded for genetics as a genetics meltdown effect. So I would like to just personally say that snails have not been attempted before and would, I feel, solve a large plethora of problems at Yogstation.
I will just say that I support snail people being added. I think it's a matter of here. I think Yogbot works here. Snails win when you code it. There you go. So as soon as somebody makes that PR, we can
They're
talk about
already
it.
coded.
If you press
are
the
they?
merge button on Snail People, I will trace your IP and I will come to your house and I will beat your
Okay. Okay. On
Snails
the
are
question.
already coded, but got
Okay.
I think either commented out or deleted because Ling
put it to a
wasn't a
vote.
fan of me or my idea.
Okay. On the question of species,
Zantam,
cat?
you are able to speak. You don't.
okay. Where is the question? Okay, so Catgirls, there are no plans to remove them. There's not really any reason, maybe chance. About the races, I don't think the races should be limited to donors. It would be nice to have some cosmetic and maybe some minor game-changing races, but if they are added, they should be made for everyone, so everyone can be a special snowflake.
Niklas would like to add, do not listen to that person. He removed snail people, not Ling, because he at the time was head coder, and he thinks snails and snail people are fucking cancer. His words. So I do remember that. It's been a long time, but yes.
I think
Also, for those of you that are worried about
might be
removing
a
cat
bit
people,
too
there are
weird.
already IC mechanisms to do this. Most of them are in the armor.
About snail people, I think they are maybe a little bit too
Stupid.
non-human to be added as a round start race. Like, does a snail even have arms?
They would have arms, and to counter that, I would say
Yeah,
they'd be very similar to plasma men,
Nah.
who are very non-human.
I'm going to go
I
ahead
would
and go with
actually,
Mr. Space
like,
on this. So, is this what we're going to be talking about? Can't we save this for like a GitHub PR? We've only got so much time.
I would actually support snail people as long as they're like a donor race and a very retarded one. Like they don't have arms, so they'll just they'll be crude, but they'll just kind of slither around very slowly
Anyways,
like snail.
I think we should move to the next question.
Yes, so thank you for your snail speak, Derp. It was a pleasure. You're muted again.
Okay, don't server mute people because that's persistent.
Sure, fine. Let's see, roles. Did you remove the role?
There you go.
Yes, you did. Okay, so I didn't make sure no other people were muted. So here's a quick one that I'm going to answer. To all, if we're moving towards no, not that one. To all, will town halls become a semi-regular thing? When will the next one be hosted? I do want these to become a semi-regular thing. This is a test one to see if it worked out. I think it's been working out quite well. I think we're getting a lot of feedback and getting a lot of good discussion. And I would like to do this again.
Personally, I would do a monthly.
Yeah, it would definitely not be like
monthly is a bit too often.
I don't
There's
think
still
so.
quite a
No, I think if you do them I mean, yeah, you will be
There's a
going
bit
over
of-
the same thing multiple
I mean,
times, but the thing is, a lot of the time, a ton of people will not be able to make it. So you'll get a variety of people. If someone's already been there, I mean, you'll see the agenda beforehand.
I think it would
like
be
you've done
better.
now.
I think it would be better to make it 2 or 3 times per year because to plan for this thing, I've been approving questions for a few days. It's a lot. It's still relatively a lot of work.
Well, I mean, that's because you've made it be a lot of work. I mean, I wouldn't mind just going through the questions and approving or not. I mean, you don't really have to officially even approve them. You can just have it be a big thing. I mean, whoever from the council or head coders wants to participate in the said town hall just, looks through the questions and picks what they want. You don't have to answer everything. You don't really need to, like, autistically go through them and filter everything out. I think you're
It's the first time.
overcomplicating.
We'll get better at this.
I
Yeah,
think
this is
also
why I
the
called it
more
the
we
beta.
end up doing it, the fewer questions there are going to be. This, as the first one, is suddenly every single person is asking every question they have ever had, which is going to take a bit longer than if we get into it more regularly. We're going to get more questions which are like people are going to be more aware of what we have been doing.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do it regularly, but
I think we'll talk about it. I think the point being is that we were going to do it. We're going to do it semi-regularly. That was the question asked. We're going to do it semi-regularly. The exact timing of which, up in the air, we'll figure it out. But you can expect these to be semi-regular as long as council does them. So
we're making it up as we go along. There will be more.
Yes, exactly.
Effectively.
Let's see. Any that tie into this very, very, very broad question of medium RP. Let's see. I guess this one kind of ties into it. To council, are there going to be stricter rules for antags to combat meta-friending? There's a handful of people who will help each other despite being non-antags in ways such as offering them items, cooperating with brainwashing surgery, implant, capture, conversion, mind slave, submitted by Forsaken Ghoul. So on this topic, I've seen, this is a complicated one because when I see people cooperating with each other in a lot of ways, I also see like it's a lot of like working together, RPing, doing things like that. But I have occasionally seen, yeah, meta friends are at least RPing. I've also seen the opposite end, where, yeah, like they're like, oh, you're a traitor? Well, put me on the table and start operating, bitch. Start mind slaving me, bitch. It's like, I'm here to help you out, bud. And that is obviously against the rules. Shouldn't do that. Even if they're your bestest friend in the whole wide world, probably shouldn't do that. So if it's a problem, you should specifically point it out so it could be looked into, get an A-help going, and make sure that doesn't, be a routine problem of people just being like, hey, I'm a traitor, want to be my slave? And they're like, hell yeah, let's do that. So
Pretty much, if you see the specific, you said it was a specific group of people, start telling admins that so we can watch list it and keep track of it.
yeah, we have to know about it because generally it doesn't actually create a lot of buzz, like admin buzz. It specifically has to be pointed out to be noticed. I think there's not really much to say about
Yeah,
this.
we really can't see everything, so it's difficult to spot unless you're actively looking. And a very simple solution that we can do is just identity ban them so they can't be the same person again, which makes that impossible for them to meta friend. And we could actually warn players that we are going to be more strict on this, and if they want to keep playing with their little meme name, then they better watch it, because otherwise, there it goes.
Yeah, the identity ban is actually, that's a strong kick in the dick for a lot of special snowflakes.
Yeah, people hate getting identity banned. Oh, they throw such baby fits getting that. But I think this is pretty much all that we have to say on this. Here's another one tied to roleplay. A lot of roleplay questions. To all, will extended be re-implemented to encourage roleplay? This is very controversial.
Can I hit that with the fuck that?
Yeah,
what I've always told, my view on this has always been that if admins actually have something like half interesting planned, then they should definitely use the extended round type to spice it up. But extended without any kind of admin intervention, I think leads to just people getting bored.
I would like to see.
But what I think you could do, an interesting idea to consider, would be to put extended into rotation. But when it comes up, admins would have like kind of a free pass to try things out. Not like a fucking very overcomplicated event, but just poked around and see where it goes, and play around with a game master a bit.
I think it would be a fun experiment to try for a week or two to port the Citadel system, where at the start of the round there is a secret vote that you don't see the result, to either make it extended or secret.
I mean, the issue with the game master idea or running any of that is it's always 10% of people being issues. Like they'll just over escalate and they cause a big shit show, and then admins have to spend their entire time ruling over this guy that's just been obnoxious just because he's bored and he knows there's no antags.
What did you say, Oak?
Oh, I said that I think we should definitely try that out. The voting secretly for extended versus secret. I think that's a very interesting idea.
I feel like the only reason they extended is popular.
I will say on Yogs, when extended happens, one of the problems is that people take it as a way of them being like, there's no antags, that gives me more freedom to be a little self-antag, or they get so bored and they're just like 10-second attention span, they're like, I'm so bored, I'm going to start some shit. And to an extent, people like that. But at the same time, it's still a problem.
With extended is that the on extended, security can get bored really easily, and when security gets bored, they have nothing to do, so they just start shit-sacking it all up.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That's why we did this
Yeah.
script.
Yeah, the idea of extended, like, it's good on its face, and everyone that would like to participate in it, it'd be a fun ass round. But the issue goes back to those 10% of people that are just gonna make it obnoxious to deal with.
So extended is one of those things that it half works, it half doesn't work. I think Oak's idea is the best way of implementing extended, of it being more of an admin playground, not necessarily for just full on events and stupid shit, but just more of an admin playground just to make it more interesting than literally nothing. This also could tie into testing out and tags that are less about just like straight murder, more interesting little miscreants going, things like that. Things like that. Does anybody have would like to be unmuted on this topic and say anything?
I think to answer the question ultimately, I don't think we could just immediately cold dunk ourselves into extended, but if we could incrementally roll it out with supervision along with the push for medium RP, then we could see how effective it is, and if we could actually put it in the rotation and we fire off an extended round without an admin, and we're confident enough in the community that it won't just go.
I'm not really sure about putting extended in rotation.
Well, yeah, no, that's why I said incrementally we'd have to test it out, like dip our toes in the water over time and see how it plays out. And if it continues to be a positive experience, then we can build on that. But in terms of, are we going to see extended implemented more commonly in the near future?
I think this is a good point to go on to the next question, maybe.
Oh, speaking of, I'm going to be right back for the bathroom, so can somebody take the next question?
What's the next one?
I think you just gotta go look in the questions queue.
Taking questions pretty much at random from the thing, but trying to link them all towards the medium RP.
Actually,
kind of
yes,
thing.
there's one that extended. Fluff asked, blah, 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 blah. Here we are. Find it.
Here, the question was, you mean like Game Master?
Yes, his Game Master question.
Okay, to Council, what are your thoughts on implementing an admin role that focuses on making the round fun through boss like the Game Master role on TG?
No, it's not really something worth doing. I mean, we're kind of poorly staffed as it is, and it never really gets really great. Having people who are like specifically supposed to do events and shit isn't actually productive to anything. I mean, the system we currently have in place is that anyone can be a game master as long as they clear it with council first, or a senior admin. I can't actually remember the exact rules. And the server has to be properly staffed when they do that event. But if you want a game master, you can game master. You just need to let people know and make the rules clear. So there's really no reason to have a specific role for it. And if we had a system where you could be a game master but not an admin, that's dumb because game mastering essentially creates tickets, and you'd be in a situation where you're creating tickets but you can't solve tickets, and that's very counterproductive to actually keeping the server admin properly.
Also, if you are creating tickets but you are not solving tickets, that doesn't mean that you are going to be creating situations and you're not certain how people are meant to be responding to them. And if you're not keeping track of what the tickets are in the first place, there's no guarantee that you're keeping track on what tickets people are likely to create. So you're sort of creating out of your own idea, but if anyone else has any idea separate to yours, you can't predict that because you don't know what questions people normally ask.
But if you are someone who would be interested in, not in admin, but in game mastering, what I would recommend you to do is just, if you have some good idea for an event, write it down, make up the basic rules for it, and pass it on to an admin. A lot of our staff absolutely love doing events, but their creativity might be lacking in some departments, so you get, shit events that no one really enjoys. But if you have a good idea, pass it on. Someone will want to do it. If it's not retarded, council and senior admins will be fine with actually approving it to be run.
Well, with
I-
events, there's a thing that many of the event suggestions we have now, they require code changes. So that means getting an admin to run the event, an admin to go deal with the ticket, to help deal with the tickets the event generates, and a coder to actually code in the event.
Or just have gamer shit coded.
I will say though, on the topic of game mastering, I consider busing and adminning your bus like they're tied together. You can't just
Yeah, there we
do
go.
the bus.
NPC destroyed.
That's
Mission
actually
accomplished.
the thing that drives me the most crazy of admins busing. If you do some meme bus and it causes problems and you don't solve it, you're really worse than Hitler to me. Like, if you got to be there and you got to deal with the problems you create, and especially work it into actually being fun for the players instead of just like shitting out an idea, just like, and players just deal with it. Just deal with
I
what
think
you.
the key with good bus is that a lot of bad bus is stuff that admins do to the players, and good bus is stuff the players are doing that the admins then enable to go further in the shenanigans. They incrementally allow it to build on it. Like you have a chaplain that's willing to go the extra distance, and you start working with them, building up to something fun. Other people can get involved. You check out the round type and make sure you're not fucking with anyone's target or some such. But really, a lot of admins, what they'll just like, they hit this button or they do this thing, haha, look at this thing, this is an admin doing it. It's a lot
Well,
more rewarding for players if they get to have the agency of deciding what's going on and
com-
where that's going.
a common issue I see with that type of bus is that it happens at the start of the round. The chaplain does his normal player things, but then near mid-round, trader starts doing things. He creates tickets, so then the event just like rots in place because the admin fueling it is just gone.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why it's smarter to do it on something the players are organically already doing themselves. Because then, if you have to pull your attention away from it, the players are still the engine driving that. It's not something that
Mhm.
you've created that you have to keep going. It's the players that are just going to keep doing what they were already doing. You're just making it a more fun and memorable.
Like, for example, if you spawned in an ERT dude, like an CENTCOM official, and let him just have his thing, give him like a base objective, inspect the station, right? That kind of just works itself out, and you're able to do other things. And if a ticket comes up, that he's still doing his own thing.
I mean, it
And
works until the CENTCOM officer finds something and tries to report back, but it's just dead silent because there's no one to pick up the phone.
So, Menacing Manatee asks, instead of Game Master being a separate role dedicated solely to bus, could Game Master be an additional permission that admins can apply that lowers the restriction on running events, let them approve events? I will say that I think Council has tried to make primary admin this role of kind of like Game Master, Busman, I think they even tried to give them ability to approve events.
That's senior admin that can approve events.
Okay, yeah, they can do that, right? I can't remember. Also,
Yeah, the thing is, if you have a well planned out event, but you don't, if it depends on what kind of restriction you're facing. I mean, it's not like we're gonna be very autistic about following every single criteria to the point. It's more of a guideline than a rule. If you ask council and just or a senior admin, and they say it's okay even though it doesn't meet exactly every bit of the criteria, then it's fine.
Alexandria pinged me and wants everybody to know this. Alexandria states he's willing to make events. Players just need to write him down the short explanation as I will guide them to. I've offered this to a few players with ideas. Nobody went through with it. If you have a good idea and are willing to write me the idea down in a half a page, PM Alexandria 404. And I think you do that with a lot of admins, including especially him. The senior admins know their shit. The primary admins know their bus shit. Like, we do want to do events, specifically like fun events. that are good. It's just very hard, and they're hard to manage. They are hard to manage.
It's also an issue for players because some events they don't know how far they're allowed to go with A or B, and if they're going to get themselves in trouble.
Mhm.
I mean, the big reason we have rules for events is just that so that players don't get confused, and so that admins who like hop on to help deal with the tickets actually know what they're trying to enforce. That's why you need that preparation. So it's not just something that you make up on the go because it gets very confusing. Players don't really know what's going on, staff don't know what's going on, and it turns into a massive.
So I think we're pretty good on this one. I think yeah, just we like events. We want to do more events, good events. I think events especially will help with RP. They're set up properly, so if you have an idea, shoot it to just shoot it. Just fucking load up to gun and shoot it our way. So I think we're actually like coming to a close on any questions tied to RP.
I think Ready Storm wants to add something here.
Oh, you do? Okay, let's see. What do you? Okay, let me give him that role. Okay, you have the mic. Let me kick you and reconnect. I forgot to tell him to reconnect first.
Nice.
There you go.
Clever.
Is this working? Hello?
Yes.
Yep, hello.
All right. So you're talking about like events and shit. What would you think of a sort of kind of purge event where we don't enforce any rules except maybe bigotry?
So
And
you're talking.
Ass day.
Ass day.
Yeah, ass day. That's been done before.
Fuck Ass Day.
Never heard of it. Sorry.
Ass Day
was
sucks.
It was a long time ago. KMC mainly sorted it out, but we called it Ass Day, and it was there are no rules, go nuts. It did
Aside
not
from the core
last long.
It's just deathmatch.
I mean, not even for like a whole day though. Like just a round.
Yeah,
I know.
it was a round called Ass Day.
Oh, all right.
Round, if you will.
Yeah, I like Colburn's comment. Admitting the round after ass day, Monka S.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Jesus fuck.
that was
Yeah,
something.
Ass Day was essentially you and your friend booting up your first private server of SS13 and hitting every button and killing each other over again, multiplied exponentially. It lost its appeal.
I did that on public server.
Ass day
Don't do
maybe
that.
could attempt it, but it's not the hottest idea. We'll have to talk about it.
We should probably like have a player vote on if you want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
probably
Nation. You
something
only
that
need one Ass Day before you never want to do it.
It doesn't really do much harm. It's one round once in a blue moon, so it doesn't like ruin the entire server. It just kind of it ruins your especially if you're an admin.
So, next question.
Yeah,
That's all I
here's
had
a
to
funny
say.
question. Thank you for your input, Ready Storm. Let's see. Remove role. No, it's already removed. There we go. So here's a fun one. It's gonna be a really fun one to answer. Where is it? What are the council's thought on bigotry/bigoted people present in the staff team? Submitted by Trenchard. Oak, would you like to answer this one?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, a thing that comes up often on this topic is that people believe that it's unfair that staff are allowed to be bigoted while players are not. Well, that is absolutely not the case. I mean, I can't go say the name of H.P. Lovecraft's cat in public, just like you can't. What we do internally is our business. I mean, we're essentially all friends there. I mean, we fucking do. I mean, bigotry is like the least of your concerns about what goes on in admin channels. That shit is really fucked up. I should probably say
yes.
it's probably not very helpful to be honest, but it's like
it's bad.
The thing is, we are very, very strict on staff doing anything bigoted in public channels because we enforce those rules. I mean, you as a player have much more leeway with bigotry in the same areas where staff will get really fucked for doing exactly what you would. So it's not an unfairness issue if that's the angle you're going for.
I think some people confuse the bigotry rule with being some kind of moral stand instead of it actually just being, no, this is the internet. We're playing an internet game. We're just sick and tired of hearing this word and that word because there are plenty of people that communicate with that being an adjective, an adverb, a noun, and a linking verb. Like it's not about, oh, we have a whole lot of moral judgments to make about our stuff. We only accept the utmost standing citizens of high moral character. No, it's not about that. It's just in public we don't want to see those words all the time. And plenty of us are freaking adults. However you want to talk, you want to talk. If you're impossible to work with, you're like, it's interfering with your ability to admin. You won't be on the staff team. Otherwise, I don't really care, and most people don't.
If you ever say that kind of stuff on the server and I catch you and you're saying it repeatedly, quite clearly trying to avoid the filter, you'll get a help from me, and it will not be how dare you say that things. It will be how uncreative are you that is the only word you can think of. Try harder.
The way I see it is, personally, I very much dislike actual racists as much as I throw around terms that are probably not very fit for polite society. But, it's so obvious to me that, racism is fucking retarded that I use those terms, ironically. I mean, but then again, I don't give a shit if you as a player are, actually sitting there in your fucking Klansman robe while doing whatever you do in your spare time, as long as you can behave on the server. It is not our business if you're, genuine racist. I don't care if you're actually part of the Nazi party. I don't care if you have Hitler frozen in your freezer waiting for technology to advance far enough so that you can just fucking thaw him up and revive him and make him implement the final solution again. I don't care. But you will not be putting that shit on the server. That's our job. We enforce those rules so that people playing on the server don't have to be exposed to that kind of shit, because a lot of people get offended by that. Personally, I don't give a shit, but I will still enforce those rules. Personally, I see it more of a less offensive thing, more of a, I don't want to, every insult to be the N-word or the F-word, because that just dumbs down the level of our discourse to the point where we might as well be fucking Hippie Station. And no one wants to be Hippie Station. Not even Hippie Station.
Exactly.
So,
I will say though that in the staff team, it's there is a thing that we don't want to push away other staff. We don't want to be like how do I describe it? Like, for example, if somebody was not
work
okay
environment.
a hostile work environment. If somebody was not okay with bigotry, like, for example, just be bigoted all the time around them, right? Like, we don't try to be exclusive and just make it just awful to work with. And so it's like, I would say that how would I describe it? For example, I have a problem with sometimes bigoted language, but I don't let it. I feel like nobody is actually trying to create problems with these things. Like, no one's actually trying to harm others or make them feel bad using any sort of bigoted language or any sort of thing that goes on in an admin channel. Like,
if it gets in the way of the job, we're gonna nix that shit in the bud. I know personally, and some of you have dealt with me. I take very seriously people being poisonous or toxic to the team. Like, once it's just like your friends. All of you all have your friends IRL where you talk to them in mean or teasing ways. You would never talk to somebody you didn't really know. But once you're comfortable with people, then you get to call them shit stains and nuzzle their hair a little, give them noogies. Like, that's how friends work. And we're stuck dealing with a lot of bullshit there when you're sitting dealing with boinks and this idiot A, idiot B, idiot C. You build these very comfortable relationships with the other staff members, and from in a vacuum it can look bad, some of the stuff that goes on, but it's because it's your friends. And you all have friends just like that, where if we subsected a specific piece of conversation between the two of you, you'd both look like pieces of shit. A lot of the staff bigotry thing, that was from a select vocal minority that just, honestly, we all know, They want to stir shit because it's fun, because people like drama. It's not an issue. And if it ever even began to be an issue with running the server or building the team, everybody would nuke that shit from orbit.
I think that's pretty much it. Would anybody like to be unmuted for comments and follow up?
I mean, I feel like another thing, the bigotry rule just helps weed out players that are like maybe incapable of following the rules.
Oh yeah, it really filters out the actually mentally handicapped. Also, I think JCat wants to say something on this topic. It looks like.
Yeah, JCat, would you like to be unmuted? Okay, 1 sec. Let me get that. Chomped o'clock. Oh, somebody got it. Can you unmute everyone? That would be a lot of fun, actually, but not right now.
Can we do it at the end?
At the end,
Sure.
yeah.
Oh, fuck that.
Oh god, that's gonna be so autistic.
You can
JCat?
leave
Anyone hear
before we
You can.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. I just want to say that, you know, a lot of things have been said about how I'm sorry, about how you know, bigotry in private channels is its own thing, and you know, you're all friends there. And while you can say that all you want, but when I look at things like, you know, the chaos situation, or the complaint where Trump called Smudgels a slur for his race, basically, and he just got away for it scot-free, even though there was literally no argument against that. You know, it was like, in context, it was a slur. It wasn't taking something out of context.
Yeah, that's because the context for that is that Smudgels is somebody that I had played games with for more than a year every day and spent hundreds of hours.
I don't recall.
Like, it was very clearly not fucking offensive, and it was something that you specifically and would that you got
Okay, relax. Okay, so
Please try to keep it civil and not screaming at each other.
yeah, wasn't this tied into Trump's firing? I'm fairly sure this was tied into Trump's firing.
I don't think it had anything to do with Trump's
no,
firing. He was a Redman at this time.
I fired Trump, and what factored into that was that he went out of his way to call people cigarettes to get around a certain
He was
word.
already a Redman.
No, that was a Discord ban for calling Kettle a cigarette. That was when you're trying to get rid of me.
Also, it was mostly his firing was the him yelling at us to fire.
The incident that I brought up, he was already a Redman.
Okay, so he was already a Repman. It had nothing. What about the time Trump was demoted from staff to Repman? It wasn't that.
I don't remember specifically.
Because I'm fairly.
About.
I, for example, would not let that slide. Like, for example, I've always been supportive of, like, staff use bigoted language in a public channel, they get dealt with. Like, Oak did it at one point, he got dealt with. Trump did it, he got dealt with.
I feel like you guys are focusing very much on the actual language. And I'm more focused on the intent and the meaning of like, you know, like Trump, whatever, he can lie to you right now. But he said that specifically to make Smudgels feel bad because he is Asian.
Trump is not racist.
because I'm a what?
Yes.
What am?
Oh, please.
I mean, okay,
this isn't like you used a slur about his race, and you like he like felt really bad about it, and he had to talk about it.
I commonly did all the time in voice chat. This really isn't something to take up the entire town hall with. I think if you want to explore
this discussion is fucking retarded.
You guys are all just lapping up his bullshit when he's a fucking like. I don't understand it.
I mean, he is not a racist. I mean, if you want to focus less on the word, if
way louder than your word.
If you want to focus less on the words themselves and more on the actual
intent. And the fact that he repeatedly, I was in his server for like, you know, his private servers, and he would say stuff like that.
You're literally bringing up my private server right now.
Care.
This isn't relevant to this.
It's your character.
Josh, you are here as a guest. You are not counsel. You are not head coder. Please, can you be quiet while we are talking about this?
About me?
Yes.
Literally
Yes.
being
Just
accused
relax,
is
please.
fucking dumb.
Can everyone relax a bit?
Like it just really rustles my jimmies when you guys just sit here and let people like that just like go, oh yeah, there's a lot of bigotry in staff channels, but we keep it to there and when like we have like documented examples over and over. Like just the other day, I think it was Alexandria or someone was posting Stone Toss comics, and Stone Toss is like he is admitted to being a Nazi,
Yeah,
and his
that's
comics
not the
often
issue.
they often contain Nazi imagery, and that specific comment was about how the Holocaust wasn't real. Like that's what the comic was about, and like Alexandria refused to do any like action. And when you see rule breaking and you don't take any action, that you are endorsing that stuff. And I don't understand how we can possibly have admins who think that stuff is okay while also pretend that we are against bigotry. You got to pick one.
So I just want to say this. With other servers, I can't even stop players from being bigots on other servers. If somebody goes to Hippie and acts like a bigot, I can't do anything about it. If somebody goes to another Discord, no matter what the Discord is, I can't do anything about it. If Trump, for example, was doing something that was against the Yogstation rules on a different server, I can't do anything about it. It's not even something that I can't even do anything about it. It just doesn't apply to Yogstation in particular. If Trump did any of that shit on Yogstation, here's what I want you to do.
You can't just pretend that people become different people because they're on Yogstation and someone else. People stay who they are.
I can't reform
That's
people. That's not
actually
what
no.
we're here
But
for.
the thing is, what I tried to explain earlier, this ties into this. I have a good handful of players that I for a fact know are actually genuine racists in real life. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to ban them from the server. No, I should not, because they behave on the server. And
you shouldn't. That should not matter.
I'm not. No, yes, it should. If you behave on the server, your actions on this server affect how we treat you on this server. If you go at grief on TG, do you want to get banned here too? That's not how this works. You can do whatever the fuck you want as long as it is not on the server. Anything we do to limit your interactions with this community, that being, bans, mutes, anything like that, those are solely based on what you do on this server, this Discord, in this community.
When people metacom or when they like DDoS a server, I've seen people be preemptively banned on other servers for that. So that's
DDoSing
like
is not the same. DDoSing is probably the worst thing you can do.
No, it's the
on
same concept. Someone has a pattern of doing something, and that they're like they do a specific thing every time, and you're like like it's you should be putting two and two together. It's not that hard. I
Right,
can't,
but DDoSing actually
boggles my mind.
does actual harm, whereas accidentally dropping the N-word doesn't actually harm anyone. It's just everyone keeps doing it all the time.
There's a difference between accidentally dropping the N-word and like a targeted attack on someone's specific race.
Here's what I want you to do, JCat.
Which is what happened in the...
Just hear me out, okay? If any of this happens on... This goes to really anybody. If any of this happens on Yogstation, I know you keep saying, oh, it should be more than just a Yogstation issue, but I want to make this clear. If any of this happens on Yogstation, I want you to make an admin complaint, and I want you to specifically cite what exactly...
I did that, and nothing happened.
Can you link exactly to that admin complaint?
Yeah, sure.
Just for future reference?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying for the future, if something happens specifically on this server, we will deal with it by the rules of this server. That's just the bottom line. I think that we're all in agreement on here. If it goes against the rules of this server, we're going to deal with it on this server.
Every single time I see something like this, I either tag an admin, or if it is an admin that's doing it, I make an admin complaint, and not once has anything ever happened as a result.
So
your actions are fucking bullshit. Like you can say all these things, but your actions speak otherwise, and that's all.
Our actions have been literally striking Oak for being a bigot. In a way, keep in mind, he didn't even know it was bigoted, but it was bigoted in other people's opinions, so we specifically dealt with it. Trump, he used it in a joking manner. That's not okay. He got strike too. We have specifically, and I can cite over and over how we've specifically outlined how this is not okay on Yogstation. We deal with it. I feel like asking more than that is just beyond the topic of this town hall. I think this could be its own separate discussion in itself.
I just want to say,
I agree. I don't want to use up too much of everyone's time.
You really do not want to like, if someone accidentally says a bigoted word once, that's not, you fire them, then you lose a fucking admin, and that's gonna, like,
No,
do
but like
much
you
more
have to
harm.
understand that, like, first of all, it's really hard to accidentally be bigoted. Even if you like let's say you mistype something, it's very clear. Like if I just if some in some like clown reality where I accidentally mistype and I say the N-word, like no one can like point at that and be like you're being bigoted, because I'd be like, oh shit, I did that by accident. But when someone makes an attack on someone's race, it's very different. Like I don't care about the actual word; it's just semantics. But
It's more of a, forgetting where exactly on the internet you are in the current moment.
Just to say something, we most of the time we don't do preemptive bans, even if someone is a shittler on another server. The only time we do preemptive bans is when the uptime of the server is attacked, as in the DDoS attacks or just a DOS attack.
yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
And a lot of the time when host chat goes on about, like, sometimes they go on these wild pedophile hunts, so we don't, like, ban everyone who they include there, because they're not really much better than Reddit a lot of the time. They just completely go off the rails at times. Get really overexcited.
Yeah.
Host chat, more like McCarthy.
Yeah, definitely.
It's basically the Red Scare, but with pedos.
I
Someone
will
pinged
say-
me in the town hall chat, and they said take screenshots and record voice chat so you can air the evidence on Reddit. I don't feel like that's very productive. I really
you can
think
air
that
it
this
to
thing
us.
is...
You can just, if you find
Yeah,
evidence,
well,
you send it to us.
that's what I really want to be able to do. Unfortunately, historically, this hasn't done anything, except in
has.
a... Well, you can say it has, but
You just
I
said
think
it
what we
hasn't done
should
anything.
do is that we
I have
have a
made
lot,
one,
we have a
two,
mountain of
three,
proof that shows
4
that it
complaints,
has
and
done
nothing
something.
has been done with any of them.
That
So
is objectively false. We can give you that information after this, I think, because I think we need to move on about
I
it.
would
Yeah,
very
oh my
much
god,
like
this
to
is
see
a
that rather
fucking
than
joke.
taking up a
Can
lot
we
of...
move along?
Relax, Trump.
Thank you. Dude, I've been perfectly relaxed. Thank you for your input, JCat. It has been invaluable. As always, you are a very, very beloved member of this community, and your input is
Thank you.
very... Thank you for it.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we talked about this, because it was, I'm not gonna, like, the bottom line is, I know that might have been, like, uncomfortable to listen to. It feels like I don't want to say irrelevant, but, just something weird that I'm not going to ignore any question. It was an approved question. It's going to get answered, right? Like, I'm not going to just skirt around it and just be like, people are having issues, not my fucking problem. So now that that's dealt with, let's move on. Let's see. We are actually cutting down to the final questions. Let's see. Here's one to council. To council, is there any plan to recruit more staff members or encourage more activity from current staff members? Many staff members are on LOA, making the staff list look larger than it actually is, submitted by Anvilman. So on this topic, there's quite a lot being done about this, and council are quite aware.
We're very aware.
Yeah, very
What
aware
exactly
that
is there being done about this?
What?
We have been implementing activity checks and chasing up on people who have not been succeeding on this. We have been talking with people who have been on long-term leave of absence in order to see what has been going on, what they have been doing in order to end the leave of absence, and generally trying to discuss and work situations out for people rather than simply just going, oh, you've been missing for 2 weeks, you're out. And on the topic of trying to get more staff members in, it is something that we're talking and having a look around, but we don't want to force people into becoming staff at the same time, because while it is something which it is a glorious thing to have a lot of staff, and we do like to think of ourselves as a nice family that we can chat with and gain more friends by encouraging more staff members. At the same time, we know that it is not for everyone, and just because, hey, you've been enjoying the server, that doesn't mean, hey, you've been enjoying playing, now you want to sit and watch and and deal with Boinks coming in because help, he stabbed me.
Yeah, I will say when I was a younger, less educated admin, I did a lot of recruiting. If I saw a good player, I'd be like, "You're a good player. You're good staff," and I would actively try to recruit them. And that tends to lead to a lot of burnouts where it'll be somebody who's definitely a good player, but like them being encouraged to force, not I don't want to say force, them being encouraged to be staff didn't really work out in the end, and they kind of leave. So I say that we are always encouraging people to become staff. I think it's really good for the server to have more staff, but it's not something I actively say you should be staff. I feel like it's much better for them to have a drive and desire to want to be staff to begin with, and that just really helps in the long term with them being staff if they do
Yeah.
choose to apply.
Then again, I mean, I only became staff. I never even considered the possibility of wanting to admin because who the fuck wants to admin? But then our very nice server host, like 6-7 years ago or something, just points me out of the blue and tells me to apply for staff, and I ended up actually
And that
doing
was.
it. And
No.
unfortunately, I'm still here.
And now he
But
regrets it.
I agree with you.
no, but
'Cause
after,
I'm
I mean,
freaking-
you should be encouraging people, at least like asking them if they've considered it. I mean, that's nice. Obviously, you shouldn't be forcing people to be staff. That's a terrible idea.
Light encouragement, not heavy encouragement.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, I mean, I've been here for fucking ages, a lot of it as council, and the thing about staffing is you can't really do that much about it from the top. I mean, you can do some slight incentives, you can nudge people towards applying, you can talk to people and try to massage the situation, but you can't really affect it all that much. What generally does happen, in my experience, is that staffing gets to a really shitty point. The shitty point leads to players applying because they see that the server is understaffed and they get so fed up with it not being admin properly that they end up applying, and they usually stick around for a good while. The situation gets better, and once the server actually runs very smoothly because it's greatly staffed, then players don't apply again because they don't feel they need to. Then it slowly, as
100%.
people start leaving, it starts going to shit again. It's kind of a boom and bust cycle.
That's actually exactly how Moja and I became admins.
Yeah.
We were both on late American Pop Hours. It was literally just a Wild West out.
It was fucking horrid. It was that's the reason I'm staff. It was it's also the reason why I keep maintaining activity, because I kind of want nobody to actually experience what I experienced when there's no fucking staff on. It was just literal insanity, and God, it was
Some Mad Max freaking Lord of the Flies style space bullshit, man. I don't know, and I definitely feel Mojo with that on like a lot of people that we think would be good staff. We push them towards it, and then a lot of them they feel like almost like we're leveraging that friendship. I can pull out like Smudgels, Sefka, Gianna, Enka, like a lot of people that are great freaking players. I know that I've pushed others and them to do it, and then they do it and they try their best, but they're just not. You need a special kind of retard autist, like want to be able to handle this and just deal with the stress and the bullshit that goes with it. And then we took a good player and now they don't play anymore because it hyper burnt them out. So striking that balance between being encouraging, because a lot of people it's intimidating to go up for moderator. You make your forum posts and then all of a sudden, you may know 2 or 3 admins, but what are the rest of them going to say about you? Or are they just going to shoot you down? And it's uncomfortable to put yourself up like that and then get shot down. Like it hurts my feelings. I know I was freaking. The only reason I ever finally put out mine was because Kay pushed me into doing it. I've been wanting to do it, and I'm a confident dude. Like those of you that know me, I'm not exactly afraid to make an idiot of myself. But that was even I needed that push, and trying to balance pushing the right people into it and not pushing people into burning out. It's very hard to really land.
I will say that, like, I did create mentors specifically for this reason. Mentors are like a in-between role of helping out the server while not having the same responsibilities as staff. I see a lot of people screaming Jared for staff. Jared plays Onion Oblivious. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where I think Onion Oblivious is a fantastic player, but they have had no sort of. I haven't seen like them like actually wanting to be staff. So for me to push them towards that could just work out worse in the long term. For example, I know several people who are fantastic players. I push them to be staff, then they burn out, quit the server, and never show up again. Gianna was one of those. I'm glad they're back. But that's one person in particular. Like, I pushed them to be staff because they're a fantastic player. It didn't really work out, and then they quit the server for quite the long time. So that's just my
Dude,
take
because
on
the
it.
love of this game can be a double-edged sword. Because there are people like me where I can fuck up something. It's like, okay, whatever. Oh, I fuck up somebody's round with a bad call. It's like, oh, well, whatever. It was this retard's fault. I have the small brain to be able to justify it. But there are people that love this game and everybody else so much, and their first instinct is to blame themselves. They're every A help they get. Oh, am I making the right call? Oh, I made the wrong call on this time. I still feel bad about it. They see the people that they may have wronged with it, and it eats at them because they care so much and they want to do their best. So it's very hard.
There's also another situation, which is what happened to me 2 years ago. Caused me to get fired. Where
Good times.
Yeah, shut up. You are on the server so much, and you go into it and you do everything so much, you care for it, that you believe that you know everything and you cannot possibly be wrong, and you start arguing with entirely the wrong people about how you'll definitely know more than them. And then you start to just bend the rules in your favour because you know best, because you've always been on the server. What have they done? Done nothing compared to you. And then you really, really go downhill very quickly.
Yeah, so that's another thing on the topic of getting more admins. There is a comfortable level of admins where there aren't literally one person having to deal with a server population of 70 people. That's hell. A lot of people have been through it. It's hell. It's what killed K in the past.
Yep.
And we don't want that, right? So if the server ever gets to that point, I will definitely start encouraging more staff, because that murders staff desire to be here. Is having to, it's especially American pop. Ooh, that's my favorite though. I love my Americans. So yeah.
And in all honesty, there's also the those bears that hang at the top of a waterfall when the salmon are moving upstream. Becoming a mod, every mod goes through this period where they'll do 70 to 150 hours in a week, and this will last anywhere between a month to 3 months. And I'd say it's probably more than 50-50. They just burn out and disappear.
We have 2 of them at the moment.
So, and a lot of people aren't willing to well, how do you solve that? Do you create limits for how much time you spend on the server? I absolutely do. I freaking banned Loot Elf when I saw 150. That's actually what got me Retman this latest time. I banned him from the server. It's like, no, I'm tired of seeing good people that would be great fits for this team burn themselves out. He's still stuck around and is some kind of special, some of us are that special kind of crazy, but you never know. You can't tell that from the outset. It's just, and by the time you do know, they're gone. They're just poofed.
So that's pretty much on staff recruitment and staff that. Speaking of staff, here's another question. And does anybody want to comment? Anybody want to throw themselves out?
Can I
talk to the staff?
put in a quick thing
Go
here?
on. Yeah.
As players, I think what you can do is you just encourage each other to apply, or apply together with your buddy who you know is also a good person. Like, just if if you find a fucking regular that you think is someone who should be staff, he has that kind of attitude, just tell him about it. Encourage them. I think it's more helpful if it comes from the bottom down. Like, just fucking grassroots that shit. And that's all I have to say.
That feels fucking good when someone OOC says, hey man, you should try to be an admin. They aren't an admin. Like, they aren't trying to get one over on you. And also, another one, if you have a mod, we all have our admins that we love when we see on the server. And if you're ever talking to them in A help or just an OOC, just let them know, hey, Really appreciate what you do, man. You make this place better. I look forward to seeing you. That you can. I mean, me personally, whenever I see that shit, I can live on that high for quite a while. It feels really fun. Do not underestimate how much just a little bit of positive feedback can mean to people.
Next question.
Let's see.
Attention.
1 sec.
Just filling in the silence. Apply with friends. Being mod squad together brings you closer than anything else.
Oh yes, definitely. Mod squad
Yeah.
buddies. Okay, here's one. I don't know why Coup Arbiter asked this. Cooper. All right, to council, are there any plans of implementing a retired mentor rank? I don't know why the fuck we would do that. I love the mentors, but I don't know why the fuck there'd be a retired mentor.
Aren't
That literally
mentors already retired? It is a retirement role. That is
Who
literally what
approved this
mentors.
question?
It was
What?
Coup Arbiter. I don't think we really have much to say. I literally don't see the purpose of a retired mentor.
That's fucking retarded.
But it was an approved question, so we have to answer it. Here's a good one. Here's one for mainly for the head coders, because they haven't been talking too much. To all, what are council/head coders' thoughts on regarding alternative maps to Box Station?
Yeah,
Have there
wait a
been
second.
any? Have there been any discussions? Oh, do you want to wait so you can answer?
All right, so I can talk about that a bit, I guess. So the main thing about this is, first of all, obviously Box Station has like a lot of familiarity. It's the map that we've all played the most. And the thing is, this leads to, generally, when map changes are made, they often end up happening only to Box Station. Like, for example, the latest PR adding the paperwork stuff to the hotline. I'm pretty sure that was Box Station only. I know for a fact that I only put my fancy airlocks on Box Station. In general, this can lead it to not having the same improvements as the other maps. So that's one of the main things that prevents people from wanting to play on Box Station.
I support
For
additional
the
maps.
purpose of the recording, what happened while I wasn't there?
Alex Carr gave his opinion on other maps being.
I am Alex Carr was AFK.
Monster.
Oh, Monster.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind.
Yes.
Losing.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing, I've actually was working on a map a few months ago, but then there was like a lot of concerns about Monster Moss being really a performance issue, so I had to like drop my mapping project and work on C++ing it. But I might get back to finishing that map that I was working on, the multi-Z map.
I know that Mayhem, he's been a fantastic asset to Yogstation of just making all sorts of crazy maps like Eclipse Station. And he's the one who asked this question, by the way, which makes sense because he is one of the main people making cool and unique maps specifically for Yogstation, and I really applaud him on that effort. I can't force the community to just accept it. I mean, you kind of can. You can force a map, but I would like to see this community be a lot more open to other maps, and especially ones that are specifically made for Yogstation, because they really are
Okay.
creative endeavors.
On the topic
Go on.
of maps, while I would like personally to see more maps, I made changes in the voting system to allow people to vote for maps. But the problem is that many people in the player base, they just like their box station and they don't want to move out. One idea I've been maybe thinking about is putting hard cutoffs for box station to make it unavailable when it's like under 25 people or over 60 people, because it on low box can get quite big, and in a high pop it can get quite chaotic because there's just not enough space.
I think we also have a lot of maps that are TG maps: Meta Station, Delta Station, Pubby Station, and I think there's one more, Omega Station. I think that's TG. I think we could do like sort of a map reevaluation of I think people. I don't know specifically, but I think people are not a fan of Omega Station in particular.
Omega Station is currently not in rotation.
Okay, I think it was removed because it was unpopular, right?
Uh, it's the it was removed, I think, because it was unmaintained. TG has decided to bin the map since the coder went off to code for CM.
Ah,
It's a map that adds the weird job, removes half the jobs, the head of
yes.
staff job. Personally, not a big fan of that map.
Hoppick asks, if most people want to play on box, why the hell are you going to force people to play somewhere else? I don't really think it's that dramatic. You're not really being forced to, and you're still getting a good core SS13 experience when you play on another map. I especially like the effort people put into maps, especially Mayhem and his maps. And yeah, that's just my take on it.
Static maps cause problems at time, mainly when people start getting into a really power gamey routine of doing things that way, that way, that way, that way. And while a majority of the player base prefers Box Station over other maps, there's still quite a bit of the community that is getting kind of sick of Box Station.
I'll actually weigh in on this bit. I think one issue is that people really like Box Station because they know it, because they are so familiar with it, and they don't want to play the other maps because they've never really experienced them. They come up so rarely that they never really get the chance to get to know that map. But I don't really like the idea of forcing people to enjoy maps, but I think they will start enjoying them if they actually play them a bit.
I would like
This
to
is
say
Nick.
that the issue of people knowing maps pretty much by muscle memory, like back in the day, I was able to go through Maint in darkness just without knowing where I was. That can be solved by randomizing departments, like we do with, I think, only the bar and the engine right now. But randomizing maintenance layouts and randomizing, I guess, like Swiss is saying, where the departments are, that would allow you to actually still have a core box map that people like, but still have it change enough between rounds that you can't just, know
I mean,
the
that's
entire
pretty
map.
much Meta Station. It's box, but departments are moved over and made as different. Yet people still hate it because it's not Box Station.
Yeah, I mean, familiarity is really like a big part. I personally used to really not like Metastation. I remember when I was playing on Paradise, it was like really bad for me when Metastation showed up occasionally, like once in a blue moon. But then I like started playing on Oracle, and that server had like Metastation and only Metastation, so I got used to Metastation, and now I much better like it. It's just simply because of the familiarity. Now I actually know the map.
I'm the same way. I think like the only way to become more familiar and like maps more is literally playing on them. So having a permanent cycle of always box makes it so you're never familiar with other maps. Therefore, you're never going to want to be on those maps.
I think it might be worth for trying out for a month to make Box Station have a lower vote weight, so it gets seen less often, so people can enjoy other maps and then restore it to normal vote weight. Vote weight.
Sir Waka387 would like to speak. Give me 1 sec. Okay, go reconnect after I disconnect you.
You can just move them to the other channel.
Oh, I'll do that next time.
Isn't that why buffer channel exists?
Oh, I see. You can speak now.
Hello?
Oh, hi. He disappeared. um, just kind of vanished. There he
Oh,
is.
hi.
Troy speaking.
Yeah, you need to use push to talk to be able
Oh,
to
yes,
speak.
you need push to talk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to piss a firestorm. Be right back.
Get that checked out there.
Been drinking too much.
Oh, yeah, and also Swislov mentioned randomizing department locations. I actually a few months ago started working on procedurally generated maps, but I never got around to actually finishing it. So that's just a fun thing. I mean, it did kind of work. It would randomly place rooms around and generate maintenance and stuff, I guess. I mean,
Gamer suggested, how about forcing a new map after 3 times on the same map?
I wouldn't be against it, but I think it would need to be something that is discussed on a larger scale.
yeah.
Using that prevents from using the void system, because before I removed the automatic rotation, sometimes it would just randomly switch to a random map. Yet people didn't like the map that gets shown, so they just use the vote system to switch it back to box immediately.
Waka, we cannot hear you. Also, I'm back. You. Oh, I see your mic activities up, but I don't hear you. If you would like, you can just type what you have to say, and I'll read it aloud, and I will answer it. If your mic's not working.
And you actually have like the correct mic selected, that it's not like muted and it's actually plugged in and all that stuff.
I think just for the sake of time, Waka, I'll read aloud whatever you have to say.
Yeah, here's the thing about like the procedurally generated maps. Like, there's like a lot of things I want to do. Like, I want to make like procedural maps. I want to make the multi-Z map. There's only one of me though. That's the reality. There's only so much I can do.
Also, about
I
people have been talking about Icebox. Icebox is, as far as I'm aware, not ready to be in rotation yet. It is still in a semi-testing phase.
Waka wants to add what he was trying to say, that he was working on recreating a bunch of older SS13 maps from different servers prior to 2015. I've seen that done before with Donut Station with limited success. People laud Donut Station as like a pinnacle of nostalgic maps, but people don't want to play on Donut Station in the year of our Lord 2020. So, but you could definitely hit up the head coders and just the coders in general and see what could be worked out with that. I remember Kilo Station. That is one of the
Well,
least popular maps ever
there's
made.
the old
Kilos
maps. The old
Kilo
maps, there's
Station.
not really any porting them. Old maps, if you want to have old maps in modern codebase, you pretty much have to remap it from scratch. You can't just take the map file and expect it to magically compile.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a complex issue, coding wise.
Yeah. And Kilo Station is like, it's an okay map, but oh my god, the decals. Why so many goddamn decals? Like, I've heard stories that it actually caused the server to run out of memory on TG land just because of the amount of decals.
I actually don't have permissions to move people to buffer channel. There we go. No. So yeah, I think with maps, definitely just like as far as the direction that we want to head in, I think we'll just have to reevaluate whether or not the community wants to do it. I think for the sake of like the developers, especially Mayhem, who do work on these custom maps, I would like to cater to them and the hard effort they put into the map design of this game. I think there's a lot to actually be gained from trying other maps. I would like to experiment it. I wouldn't say I'm going to force some hard decision, but I do want to experiment with this. So just on the topic of maps, does anybody have anything else they would like to add before we move on? Rotsiv likes to add, when will more main variation for box station come? We need new main drops every round. I do like a more random main. Most people actually don't remember
As Yakbot would say, when you code it.
Yes.
Yeah, back in the day, I made a PR on Paradise Station that added what is it called? Randomized the layout of maintenance, but that got closed because the maintainers didn't like it. So if you want, you can go back and find that PR and try to port it.
Yeah, definitely.
When are we cloning Monster to have more coder for?
When you PR it.
Here, let's see. Let's go to the next question, because we're actually almost done. We're actually almost done with the approved questions. Let's see. Dealt with the first, the second. What are the Here's one to council. What are the intentions behind having a retired administrator rank with powers? Are there any expectations or requirement that come with the rank? What is the point of ex-staff members a special quote staff but not really staff rank once their time as administrator is over? Submitted by Anvilman.
Well, the main point, I think, is actually, it's probably not the stated main point, but in practice it is, they come back. Retments come back, and they do that a lot. I mean, people need longer breaks from this shit. Admitting sucks. I mean, it fucking sucks balls. It's a fucking horrible job.
It's also really good, just saying.
So,
you know.
Apply
Retments,
for
like,
admin now.
they keep people in the community. They keep people in contact with admin staff, and they kind of have it. They constantly have an idea just via the Discord about what's going on in the community, and usually when you call a retmins, they step up and come and help. It's also useful because retmins, while they are retmins, they'll still play from time to time, and they'll take tickets. I mean, we have some retmins who do take a lot of tickets, or are actually very active admins. They just don't want that being an admin constantly.
So in my opinion of retmins, there are a lot of retmins who really just like have been here for the longest of times and still contribute for the longest of ways. Like for example, QE. I don't even know why he's a retmin. He's been doing some seriously insane hours. He could be an admin anytime he wants. He just has to apply.
He wants to focus on playing, and I mean that's fair enough because he still does a fuck ton of admin work.
Well, QE's here, but he's muted and deafened. There's a lot of retmins who definitely are contributing to the server in a lot of ways. It might not even be in terms of getting on and directly dealing with tickets. A lot of people have a lot of good input to add, a lot of good suggestions, and just like they've been around for a long time, so it helps balance things out. For example, yeah, Simon is a classic retman. He just comes here to shitpost, and I couldn't imagine a Yogstation without Simon's shitposts.
I could.
What else is there to say about Retman? I think it's all been so blurry because it's been happening so fast, but there's the Retman ordeal. I don't want to dig into so much of staff drama because that's not the point. I also don't want to reopen any old wounds that have since been closed.
Retmans do have some requirements now. They
Yes.
have to actually go on the server so that we don't keep people on the books who haven't actually, seen the server in fucking years. So now they actually have to be there to like kind of stay in the loop. I mean, a lot of them are really good boys and just keep in touch via Discord and are actually,
I mean,
you don't move on staff issues.
the players don't really notice the rhythms that don't cause an issue.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And also, I just want to say that Retmans who, in any way, kind of abuse their role and fuck shit up, they are gone much easier than any actual staff member.
The recent thing is that there has been a reevaluation of Retmans, just like what is their purpose, what do we want to do with them, what is their requirements, why are they here. We've been like, it's not been because there's been extreme issues with Retmans, but they have been under like a reevaluation of like what we exactly want from the role. In terms of powers, just so it's clear, Retmans are actually below admins, but above mods. They don't have any tools for bussing really, and they shouldn't bus. So it's not exactly like a comfy role. It's not something it's better if you actually want to get on the server. It's not better to be a Retman as opposed to be an admin. And at the same time, we're quite generous with staff taking leave of absences because this is a volunteer role. Like, we're not here to be like, oh, get the whip out. He hasn't put in his time. Like, just fucking whip him, and people avoid this punishment by being Retman. No, it's still quite chill, Retman or admin.
I mean, as someone who's been Retman quite a lot on and off, to many it might seem like Retman is some kind of privilege that you gain something from. It's not. You can't really have any fun with the role, and what actually happens is that you go on the server just to play, but you're a Retman, and you see that, oh shit, all the actual staff just fucked off. You technically don't have to start taking tickets, but I mean, you're not gonna just sit there and not take them. So you get stuck adminning for 8 hours while you're a Retman because actual staff don't bother coming on. That's what actually being Retman is like from experience.
Yes. I think that's basically it. Does anybody have anything to add? Any Retmans want to chime in on the topic of Retmans? I think we have a few Retmans here. We got Slav. We got classic Slav. Make yield sheriff a Retman. Yeah, we were supposed to consider that.
Actually, I spoke to him on that before I got yeeted. But he didn't want it now because he's actually considering reapplying. So.
Oh, awesome.
He's probably gonna be coming back and be active staff. But I did promise him that you should definitely bump him up to admin and skip the mod phase when he comes.
Okay, so next question.
Yes.
To council, what is being done to discourage ready, set, valid hunt with players in certain occupations like chemistry and genetics submitted by
I don't understand a word of that.
Great.
I'm trying to look for it.
We did start to discuss some of the valid hunt. No, we started to discuss the power gaming aspect more than the valid hunting ones, but
I'd say that's just a matter of like admin enforcement of just like it's pretty clear when valid hunting is happening, especially when it's a role that shouldn't be valid hunting, and that can be easily dealt with.
I think the question is what does chemistry and genetics have to do other than valid hunting?
Well,
chemistry has the ability to prepare the medicines for the medical crew for the inevitability when everything gets stolen from the back room. Genetics can look into what the powers are in order to give to security, which is probably what they should be mainly doing rather than giving it to themselves a lot. Anyway, there is also all of the bounties which are available. And yes, Bob could do it in 5 minutes, but Bob is a special and unique case. We cannot balance the entirety of chemistry around one person, as much as I'm sure he would love to. If anyone else starts doing chemistry, they need to be able to do it in their own time.
Alex Carr, you were saying something?
Not really.
In terms of what's it? I'll say though, on the topic of like very particular people, because they're out along throughout Yogstation, there have been particular people who kind of, I don't want to say they set a standard, but they do kind of define things for a particular role. For one that sticks out in my mind was I Can Hear Colors playing genetics. He most definitely had a problem. I'm not trying to shit on him because that's not what I'm here for, but he definitely had a problem of getting powers. Once he had powers, just starting to shit the fan. Not shit the fan, but just start doing things that we wouldn't really call acceptable for that role. And like, it's just something that's dealt with on a case-by-case basis of like those particular people. I wouldn't say, like, for example, when I Can Hear Colors, he was famous for doing stupid shit as Hulk. I never really considered, hey, I'm just gonna make sure no one has a good time when they get Hulk because of one particular person. So that's just my take on the subject of power gaming on specific roles. Does anybody have anything else to add? Bob, would you like to be unmuted and talk about this? Okay, here, I'll do that. Yeah, I still won't have that privilege of moving to that channel. Hello, Bob, you can talk.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay, genetics really doesn't have anything to do for the rest of the round once they get the powers. That's actually a genuine problem.
I think a lot of this can be addressed rather code-wise rather than admin-wise, especially if you're talking about, yes, genetics have the powers, okay, now what? So that, I definitely agree with that. It could also just be dealt with code-wise, so they have something else to do. For one, I think I'm not gonna just say I want this done, but I kind of want radiation to be kind of reconfigured around. It's kind of, I kind of don't like the idea of, like, let's say you get radiated for some reason, you just take one pill to fix any genetic anomalies, and you're just a-okay. Or you could just use the genetics machine just to instantly fix somebody genetically with injectors or using the machine. So I think with certain roles, just reevaluating all the code around them and what they're capable of doing can definitely help towards stopping them from just getting bored in valid hunting. So
I know pre-base you never used to be able to get the powers for if you got a power injector, it only worked for 5-10 minutes rather than I've taken this pill, now I glow and I can do whatever the hell I want for the rest of the round. It's more like making them have to actively work towards keeping people having those powers for long periods is probably would probably help, as opposed to just, by the way, here's your Hulk. Now what do I do? So if they want people to have those powers, they have to actively do something to them to help give it to them instead.
Right now, the cloner is just the medics bring it in and they drop the body off and it does it. I mean, geneticists should have a process that gets them more involved with reviving dead bodies.
Yeah, but what happens on low pop?
I mean, low pop is low pop. Like,
I think go on.
You can't just ignore low pop because not everyone around will have a geneticist. Even on the high pop, sometimes there's no geneticist for the whole round.
It doesn't have to be like making it so that only geneticists can revive it, but if they had a more involved process that was kind of rewarding, that they could revive bodies faster or do something like positive, where if they have higher skill, they can do something in that regard that gives them something to do that's not just kind of standing around medbay until an antag shows.
Here's a good thing I would like to point out. If you have any ideas on this and your experience with genetics, chemistry, anything like that, medbay could use a little touch up in terms of its code and how it functions. So what I would definitely recommend you do is you submit a bounty request with your ideas outlined specifically on what you want happened. And I can definitely work that out in terms of like seeing if that can be done code wise and just getting medbay roles shaped up. So especially genetics and cloning. So you know a lot, Bob. I know your brother knows a lot. You two should work together, figure out some sort of rework, change, and post in a bounty request. Thank you. Do you have anything else to add?
Just about chemistry in general. Chemists actually have a lot to do during the round as non-intact. They just kind of don't do it. Like, people don't bother making advanced healing chemicals and then, like, administering them or doing anything like that. They just kind of sit around. So it's more of a
there's
player
no real need.
How much meth can I make?
I know that when I play, I don't play chemist anymore, but when I used to play chemist, I kind of just treated it as medical doctor plus.
That's how I like to do it, honestly.
That can also be looked into in some sort of rework. I think, this is definitely an idea to be suggested via bounty, and it'll definitely get looked into. Thank you. We're almost done here. I don't want to say we're almost done here, but we are we're almost done to the approved questions. Let's see, what is even left?
ERP. Is it coming back? Probably not. Absolutely.
This is the question. Are there plans to legalize ERP at the cost of being instantly valid to kill by anyone? No.
Even
Shut the
being
fuck up.
valid would mean that you'd have to kick out anyone that's under 18, and that includes like a lot of admins like generic DM, bull, gamer, and we all love those admins and in general the players that are under 18, and we should not kick them out just for memes.
Degenerates go home.
There's almost nothing to be gained from adding ERP to Yogstation, so
Yes, there are other places for this.
Next. Admin bus rounds. Will it happen?
This ties into extended when we're talking about admins bussing on that round. The question is, by Nick BR, what is the current stance on event rounds where the main driver to progress the round and pose a threat is admin bus? Well, admins get more freedom to run events. So admins have the freedom to run events with council approval. And frankly, I don't even remember the last time a council denied somebody requesting to do an event. At worst, it's them, helping the idea be better, giving suggestions and just making it, work out better. We did talk about events being run. Events are important. I want to see more events, and I encourage admins to do more events. One thing I don't think the players actually know about is that we actually have a small little pre-approved event thing where if an admin does an event in this pre-approved list, they can just do it because we know the event works as specific rules that are pasted, things like that. And we are looking to add more. This also ties into saying specifically Alex wanting to be pinged about this. Alexandria. If you have a suggestion for an event or event you'd like to see, you can definitely ping staff, ping Alexandria, and we can work it out with you, get that event going. And tell you if it works out, how to fix it. Just like if you have a suggestion for an event, we can help you make it happen. Definitely listen to what Alexandria is saying in the town hall chat. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Attention.
I think we've talked about this quite a lot in a previous question. So, let's see.
Next question will be to HCs. Are there plans to get new game modes? Okay, at the moment, there's not really any plan to push for any game mode except the Poltergeist game mode, which is in a bounty. I personally don't really like that game mode because it looks really a lot like Hive Minds, but not Hive Minds.
I want an antag that involves space pods.
Of course you would.
I think we need to use space pods more.
Yes, sentient space pods, new game mode.
I'd say, at least in terms of like, I would like, rather than just being more mean game modes, we reevaluate our current game modes. I'm not trying to discourage new game modes, but I would like to, we've talked quite a lot about reevaluating our current game modes to fit more RP, etc. So I would love, one of the bounties I've been thinking about of making it would be a big bounty would be a game mode specifically designed for RP. It's kind of, those are very hard. Go on.
Problem with design bounties is that game mode bounties required design to be part of the process. That means that the person that's going to be doing the bounty, is going to do the lowest effort, and that's probably not the highest quality. I'm completely against bounties for game modes because the two last game modes that have been bountied have failed completely and are currently out of production. Other one, Overthrow.
Yes.
But if anyone here has an idea for a game mode, you should start by going in your favorite text editor, Google Doc, Microsoft Word, I don't care what, MS Paint, and start writing what you want the game mode to be, writing it down, then posting it on the forums. That having somewhere where your idea is written down is the first and biggest step into having the game mode actually coded in and being in game.
In terms of like adding code for SS13, I'd say probably one of the hardest things to get exactly precise and exactly right is a game mode. It's a lot different from just adding a meme item or improving a different game mode or adding a role. There's a lot of hard things. I'd say an entirely new game mode is up there as just extremely fucking difficult, especially to get right and make the players and admins all happy with it, and people wanting to develop it further down the line. For example, as Alex Carr was saying, one of the biggest failures was Overthrow and Hive Mind. Those definitely had the problem of like they were pretty polished, but no one wanted to add them. There's barely any coders who wanted to fix them up and change them besides the one dude who created them. So that's always a
really?
factor.
The one dude who created them never touched them again after because it
Oh,
was a
yes.
bounty he didn't give a fuck about.
They took their money and scrambled. So
I think it's a good point to go to the next question. Wait.
oh. Okay, so next question.
Are there any plans to council? Are there any plans on changing Mindshield rules to be more RP based, letting only some job know some meta information on end tags to help crack down on valid?
You said this was to council?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a rules question.
How does that tie in with mind shields exactly? I don't really get it.
Making end tags, making only some jobs be able to know information about end tags.
Right, that's basically how it used to be. Like the old system of you have a blue screened APC, you need an engineer to identify what the issue was there. You'd have only second command knows what a ling is. I really like that. I would want to go back to that, but I'm I mean it's a big thing to do, and it really needs a fuck ton of community input. It's not really I think pushing it from the top down isn't going to lead to anything good.
I know Yogstation has a system like this.
Um, I don't think this question is exact because there used to be a thing called it was an implant that basically de-tagged you, even if you were a trader. I don't remember its exact name. I didn't actually play when it existed. Loyalty implant, that's it. Um, I wasn't around when it, but I know they had like a reason to remove it. I think it just caused problems in the end.
I mean, it sounds like the kind of thing SEC would just implant everyone's suspect.
In regards to meta shielding of like certain antags after your mind shield implanted, it would definitely depend on the. One of the problems is that a lot of game modes are kind of balanced around security, mind shielding people, and they basically join security's team. For example, revs, like as it currently stands, as soon as you're implanted and derevved, you're kind of like on team anti-rev, and security will give you a baton, sec access, maybe even a gun, and you might just be sent on your way to go deal with revs. And for us to just say, oh, you can't do that because you're this, that would really upset the balance of that mode. One thing I've been particularly wanting to look at is how fast conversion and tags convert. That causes a lot of problems with uh, the people who are not conversion and tags basically having to act like sec because they literally have to, otherwise the entire station dies. Um, I know Altoids has posted many a graph on this exact topic, and I see him typing right now.
Yeah, can
So
we? I just realized I'm pretty sure all the conversion antags, like literally all of them, end in the station being destroyed. I don't think we have any conversion antags where the end result is not everyone dies.
Revolution.
So Revolution
Revolution.
is end of round.
Clock Cult used to be a thing where it ended with a normal shuttle call. Now it's God spawns or everyone dies.
Yeah.
So this does tie into the issue. I do want to slow down conversion and tags, which will also help the RP of the people working against conversion and tags, like Mind Shield people. So
The question was about the meta shield. I think
Yeah, I mean,
kind of went off track.
we used to have a pretty strong meta shield, and it never really, if I remember correctly, conversion attacks weren't really. It wasn't really hard on those. It was mostly like mouth so that the entire station doesn't flip the fuck out as soon as they see a blue APC. It did apply to Rev a bit with, or maybe it don't. I mean, this is a fucking long time ago, and I don't really remember. It applied to Lings at least. Like if you weren't in Science Command or Sec, you did not know what a changeling was, and that was an actual rule. Yeah, you could. Yeah, Crybaby is correct there. You had like you didn't know what changelings could do. You didn't like insta spot them, but like if you saw someone running around with fucking arm blade, then yes, you know it's a fucking monster with an arm blade. It requires a lot of effort on the players because there's a lot of double think involved. Like you gotta know things and not don't know at the same time.
Attention.
But I think it provides a better experience overall, and it is something that should be discussed with the player base as a whole, at least with the regulars. like it's not something that's easy to force on people,
Definitely.
especially after we've been without it for, like, say, 4 years or something.
It's something that'll have to be slowly re-implemented if we do.
Oh yeah, like Crybaby said again, I actually mentioned this earlier too. If someone just shouts on a radio, "Changeling eating me," and then those people will reply on the radio, fucking, "What's a changeling?" or "Changling," or like, no one would. People would actually pretend to not know what a changeling is, and I think that was great. That was really fun, and it made the game mode better because the changeling, the anti themselves wouldn't really need to try as hard because people were kind of, everyone was more laid back. You wouldn't have to fight the Antag so hard because the Antag wasn't trying that hard because everyone's kind of, taking a step back because of the mana shield and because of, not valid hunting and power gaming all the goddamn time. But it is a server culture issue, in essence.
Moving on to the next question. I think we're almost done with the approved questions. Here's one. Are there any plans to make the reasons behind decisions taken by council more transparent to staff members? Submitted by Dominus Lucian. So this is for the players specifically. This has been a hot button issue for a while now. I wouldn't say, I don't want to say it's literally the biggest issue, but it has been on staff conversation for a while. Of just like, council makes a lot of decisions, we make votes, we have our vote reasons, and no one likes being blindsided by a stupid council decision or one they disagree with. They want to be informed, they want to be in the loop, and they want to give their piece if for example, there was a vote that that council passed and staff feel like they didn't have a say in it at all. So that's been an issue in the past. For example, at one point council's votes reasons were literally not published, so you just get some bad vote and you'd be like, why is that there? Why'd they do it? And then council just be silent on the issue. That's something that's not anymore. All vote reasons are published. Every decision that we make, we give our reason, and they pretty much are 100% serious reasons, our actual takes on something. So in terms of how we've been dealing with this, I feel like one thing that I'm literally doing to make things more transparent is this right now, this town hall. I talk to the community, I talk to the staff team. I spend a lot of time talking to the staff team, even when they're being full Papega hammers. So it's just something that's I have been trying to work on it. Nothing's ever perfect, nothing's ever ideal. But it is something that slowly gets better and better with regards to transparency. One thing that they've been big on in terms of talking about transparency is Oaks firing. Now I don't want to start a shit show about this, but in but in short, God. Okay, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, don't worry, I won't start soapboxing about that here. It's not really a player issue.
Yeah. I just think I keep trying to do my best to be as transparent I can be in regards to the staff team, the players. I don't like being left out of the loop when I'm not council, because I've been not council a lot of times. I don't like being left out of the loop, especially with some dumb decisions that could have just been better. No offense to our dear overlord Xantam, but sometimes he makes some absolute Papega hammer decisions, and I'm right there making sure, let him know. If you feel like a decision has been bad, whether you're staff or a player, you're totally under your rights to complain, post on the forums, post on Discord, talk to us on Discord, let yourself be heard. There's this weird sentiment that's really bizarre, and I don't know why it exists, but they people are like, they'll make a criticism of Xantam or council, and they act like the fact that they said it is like their death sentence, like they're gonna get fucking stabbed and sent to a gulag for even saying it. That's not the case. You are allowed to give your take.
Sometimes.
We're gonna
And
send the same guy that did in Jeffrey Epstein after you.
yeah,
As far as the Oak thing goes, I am willing to say, as one of the more contentious, aggressive, and genuine admins, that I believe wholeheartedly that Moja and the rest of the council are doing what they think is best for the server, and they're acting in good faith. Well, Moja specifically.
thanks. So yeah, let me see. There's a lot of responses to this, so I'm going to look into them. Oak, do you want to add anything to this conversation in particular, or Kay?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, council transparency's always been an issue for me. And I started the whole democracy beam for good or bad with regular elections, letting staff actually have input. I believe I participated in forcing council to post their vote reasons. Correct me
Yeah,
if I'm
no,
wrong.
but you and I did a lot of that. You pushed for staff votes actually being a thing, being able to discuss ongoing votes with staff, and also forcing vote. Once upon a time, you didn't even know which way council voted on something. Like a vote would come out, but you didn't know if Mo just said yes or K went neutral. The Oak was actually a big part of forcing you to be accountable for your decisions, and it was much less in the mist. Who knows what actually happened?
Well, in short, I just want to say that in over the past few years, it's been going in the right direction. And for reasons I don't want to get into, I'm slightly worried about the whole transparency thing, but I think that's something that should be discussed internally in some kind of staff town hall, because it's not really something that concerns players, and it covers so many internal matters that it'll just be stupid to discuss it here. It also takes away from, I mean, half of you won't understand what we're talking about, so not the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the next question,
Yes.
well, to council, what are your thoughts on removing law sets that allow valid hunting at round start on 4A?
We didn't answer that, right?
I don't believe so. We tippy toed around some
More or
AI stuff,
less.
but we didn't answer.
Well, I did post that I specifically started a vote to kill corporate, paladin, and RoboCop from round start law sets. I'm not a fan of those. I think there's been there's been a lot of drama about corporate in particular, of just like, what the fuck does this even mean? A lot of interpretations. It also ties into the fact that we don't have like a firm silicon policy, and we've also been talking about just like rampant valid hunting, and valid hunting being a problem. It also comes from the AI and Borgs, and it doesn't help if we're trying to stop valid hunting to literally have laws that require you to valid hunt. So I'm not going to leak counsel, but not everybody agrees with me on this. But here's my take. I think if we want less valid hunting, we shouldn't have damn laws that start with that are like, this is your law, go valid hunt. That's just my take.
Yeah, combined with us being more strict on enforcing the silicon policy and the AI interpretation. And a lot of people do agree with Moja. Maybe we're just Asimov purists, but a lot of those things, it's just you can just freaking I know Asimov runs that. But there's just so much you can't really enforce with those law sets. There is no capacity for an administrator to enforce a ruling that is against valid hunting, because any of those can logically be justified to valid hunt. That's just how it is.
Have you atomized the votes for removing the law sets, like law set by law set, or is it big?
It is currently not atomized.
I would suggest atomizing those.
Yeah, it probably needs to be redone atomized.
Corporate is fine in my opinion, because it's not like valid hunty by design or even I mean, you can a bit, I suppose, but it's not like a
I
valid
mean,
hunt
it
law
pretty
set.
much is. You can easily argue that the station is more expensive than the crew members inside it.
Well, you can also argue that under Asimov, antags cause human harm.
Yeah, if an AI wants to valid hunt, they will find a way to valid hunt, no matter
Yeah, but
the law.
it's not like fucking RoboCop or Paladin. I don't think Corbett should be in the same
I
boat
mean,
as those.
AIs are trying to valid hunt while you one human to an end.
I'm gonna go let my cats inside. Be right back.
If
Right,
the
now that he's
AI is determined to valid hunt, they still need to find justification within their laws. But if an Asimov says, "Oh, antags cause human harm, so therefore I'm going to start hunting," if that Asimov, if the antag is a human, they can't do anything about it anyway. They just can't. They're human. They have to be protected.
So we're going to the next question, or do we wait for Moja to come back?
I just got back from taking a piss. Do we have a on like the questions that we want to address that are important before wrapping this up?
There's one remaining question actually.
Okay, where is it? Questions queue. Monster or Alex? Monster, Alex, was you talking? If you have the question, hit us with it. Okay, I've been teased.
Okay, would you consider would you consider increasing the requirements for head rolls, maybe by requiring an amount of time as each of the jobs within a department instead of a simple X hours in any role inside the department?
Is that a coding issue? I guess not really. I mean, I don't see any issue. I don't see any problem with that.
I know Ludelf actually threw out the idea of making it so that certain head rolls are locked behind achievements.
I'm not sure about achievements, but time under each individual role, I could absolutely see. I mean, yeah, you could still have people. You have the argument, okay, what if I just AFK as geneticist for 2 hours? Yeah, that can be a thing, but just get that extra hurdle to getting into that job. I don't see a huge
Thing
problem.
is, some departments you don't really need to play all roles. To have a good CMO, you don't need to learn how to make a super good virus, and to be HOS, you don't really need to be a warden either. If you have enough playtime as a security officer, you can easily play as HOS.
Yeah, no,
The
I'm
thing
not
is,
saying
with a
flat
lot
10 hours.
of the head rolls, while you don't need to know how to make a perfect, amazing virus in order to be the CMO. But if there isn't a virologist and there is a deadly virus going round,
Yeah, you need to know
probably
how
ought
to
to be able to know how to make a cure. It's not you need to know how to get into the depth and details and know how to do it better than someone who's doing the job. It's you need to know enough of the basics. And a lot of the time you don't know the basics because you haven't done the role in the first place.
Yeah, it's about having a passing familiarity, not an expertise.
My point is that instead of maybe of every single role within the department, maybe only pick the most important one, like CE needing both Ing and Atmos Tech, but medical maybe only requiring chemist and doctor.
I'd say you still need some viral on CMO because of outbreaks. Otherwise, you get one random event virus spawn. Doesn't even have to be the player controlled virus. It could just be a random generic virus, and that could ruin the round because it has messed up so much, and they just don't know how to fix it.
On that, this was the last question in the approved question thing. So, if anyone has any question that wasn't answered yet, you can post it in the town hall question queue thing. I'll lower the cooldown to be a bit less, a bit.
I actually have one that Chief Tex asked in Town Hall chat a while ago. Any thoughts on bringing back the old Meteor game type from old SS13, not based on killing the crew, but more about team?
I like putting up the shields and shit.
I have something to add to this, or did you have something to add? Oh,
No, not really.
so this is actually something I have thought about. The problem is with meteors as a game mode is that literally the moment you know it's meteors, the station's getting fucked. It's not even safe to go outside into space and put up the shields because you can just get hit by a meteor and die. I think meteor. This is the way, because I've run meteors as an event before. What I specifically do is it's extended, and CENTCOM makes it explicitly clear that meteors are coming. Then they have all the time in the world to prepare for the meteors, and after 20, 30 minutes, the meteors come in the form of like lots of the meteor events. So
Thing
I
with
think that
Meteor,
flows better. Go on.
thing with Meteor is that it can get really annoying really quick. So like maybe have it at the same probability as Raging Mages, because no one wants to play two Meteor rounds in a row.
Mm-hmm. So you said we're done with all the approved questions, right?
That is correct.
Oh wow, we did it. Yogstation, can I get a Yoggers in chat?
Why do you keep doing that?
Oh my god.
That's all he knows how to do.
The power,
Is it
unlimited power.
is it time?
So, Mojo, you wanted some lighthearted questions at the end, right? Just shooting the shit.
Well, before we do that, there's also some questions that were added that weren't in the approved section, so I'm going to deal with those too. Here's one. Can we place more importance on station objectives? They usually go unnoticed until absolutely nothing is happening or somebody really wants to do it. Asked by Jazz Jen. I like station objectives. I'm honestly surprised that they've never been expounded upon. Like no one's ever added like more objectives or made objectives harder or anything like that. I would love to see new objectives. I would also like to see them more important. I don't know how to make them more important though, because all it is right now is like a crew green text at the end.
What
So
we
it's
do is
like
we start a countdown and we start giving them from the captain down the chain of command for every amount of
No.
time that they don't have the station objective.
I think a good thing to make station to make station objectives more important would be making them themselves give a great boost to sex so that antags actually have a reason to stop it and crew has a reason to pursue it.
What I would do is just you send inspectors and send them over to encourage people to actually do them. Like announce from CENTCOM to the station that you're gonna start doing some inspections and see where they're at with their actual station objective. And then after a bit, you send an inspector to see where they're at. I think that'll already get people doing it.
I think there's some things that can be added to that. It's a pretty simple question. I would like to just see more, so we'll just move to the next question. Uh, J Cat wanted to add, this isn't a question, but I just want to say the town hall was very nice. I feel like I had an actual say, and that's a good feeling. As someone who played pre-base and has played less and less since, this feels like a good return to form. Um, I'm glad. I'm glad people are enjoying this. I can tell you guys are really enjoying this because there are a million people still here listening to us just ramble. And you guys enjoying this? If you're enjoying this, can I get a Yoggers in chat?
How about we do a different emote spam because we've just done yogas?
Okay, can we get a Yog champ in chat? Excellent.
Man, you're having too much fun with this bullshit.
He's got his own personal Twitch chat. This doesn't happen to many people.
So, yeah, I'm glad you
Drunk
guys are
town halls
enjoying
right
this.
now. I don't know what you're talking about.
What's it? Let's see.
Server reset for the Minecraft. Minecraft server is dead. Sorry, guys. The web map is still available to see what you did. I recently regenerated it, so that's that. But the server is dead. Sorry.
Is it playable, or are you saying just no one plays it?
No, it's whitelisted. It's dead. The actual server box expires in 4 months. I'm hosting it myself on my box, and I don't think I'm gonna renew it.
Yeah, that was kind of an experiment. I actually didn't involve myself at all with it, but if people...
This actually went so much better than I expected. I am genuinely surprised. Happily so, obviously.
Xantam says he has plans for the MC.
The Minecraft.
I hope he
mean
means
the
Minecraft,
No,
not
Master
No,
Controller.
the master controller.
I mean, the Minecraft server was always a Xantam operator.
I mean, I pretty much hosted it.
It's one of Xantam's tisms, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Any more questions? Exploration be expanded upon. There's little to no reason to return to space ruins once they've been looted. Perhaps a job like science could have more interaction with exploration.
That's something really hard to answer from the point of the administration of a server because, well, we can't force anyone to code anything, and no one has given any ideas on a job like science could have more interaction with explorers.
Xenoarchaeology is a thing on other servers, and I'm not too familiar because I don't play on the servers that have it, but somebody could code it, bring it here. Unless it's on VG, which is closed source, right?
VG is open source.
Oh, is VG's open source?
Yeah. The difference is that VG is still using GPL instead of AGPL, which means that they have a hard time porting from other servers simply due to the licensing problems.
VG is closer to R4407 than what's it called, than to Yogstation. So to port it, you can't just copy paste code anywhere.
Yeah.
Damn. Let's see. Why are people building ladders?
Because yeah.
Let's see. To council. Now that we're pretty much done with this town hall, what are some changes we may be seeing very soon as a result of council and staff have talked through? That's actually a hard question because I don't want to do any just like I honestly gonna have to like just re-watch this, re-listen to this, just to like figure out because I kind of have like a smooth brain too. I don't really remember things that well. I have to like reevaluate this and just think about what's been talked and discussed. But I think once. Sorry, go on.
The first thing I'll do is make sure the new mods actually understand silicon rolls because that's been an oversight. I think that's something we really need to get focused on, and it's a pretty easy fix, and it's something you can do very quickly without actually changing any policy or such.
Yeah, my gut come away as well is I'm a lot more comfortable getting. It looks like the core of our community that like make this place enjoyable want us to become harsher on the enforcement of our. I always feel like a dick when I do that, so I'm pretty lax,
same.
but I'm actually more comfortable with. I'll start, stomping my foot down a little more.
There's definitely a lot of things I want to get done, get changed, talk it out more through this town hall. I just have to reevaluate because I've talked about a lot of subjects.
Oh god, who removed the slow mode?
Oh my god, the ladders.
This is just a Twitch chat now.
This is why we had slow mode in the first place.
We need Twitch plays SS13.
Boost the server for extra Twitch quality.
I'm really liking all the Yoggers in chat.
No,
Can we get?
they're
we
building
get?
a ladder.
Can we get 50 subscribers?
Can I get a?
I mean, Yager kind of sounds like a slur, not gonna lie.
Okay, new question.
Can we get monster
Given the
spits in the chat?
Okay.
given
Okay.
the
Hold on.
given
I'm
the
gonna
danger of
go on.
well, if you
I'm
wanna
putting on the
read
slow
it.
mode back on because I'm gonna take more questions, just mean questions at the end. So pause the ladder building in the Yoggers for now. Go on.
Okay, given the danger of a containment failure of a fusion reaction, can Atmos Tech inspect the incinerator expect the incinerator to have a space bridge, effectively putting a vacuum to separate the gas leak from the rest of the station? Basically, they want an incinerator mini.
A lot of these suggestions that are just very code oriented suggestions, like that sounds like a very multifaceted issue. You're talking about like a big map change, a big engineering change,
Well,
a
it
big
wouldn't be
Atmos
really
change.
big, but still, try. Learn how to map is not really that hard. Monster made a great tool to edit maps, make a PR on GitHub, and see the reactions it.
If you guys haven't seen the new Yogs exclusive map tools, you need to get on that because you can do some wild bunker shit with that. So I think we're pretty much done with all the real questions. Now
Are we doing meme questions?
you can do mean questions, ask personal questions, ask anything you want, really.
No, we'll do meme and personal questions first, then we'll unmute everyone. Because otherwise no one's gonna hear the answers to the meme questions.
Yes. Oh, hey, kitty, what's up?
Hey Moja, what's your relationship with? Never mind. Never mind.
Can we have pictures of Moja's?
Yes, we need pictures of Moja's cat.
Okay, one sec.
Oh, just show us your pussy.
Hey, here's a little guess. Wait, never mind.
Let me
Man,
post my cat.
all of my impulses are bad. I have so many bad impulses.
Here are my 3 cats. They're all posing after I squirted some water on a bush. I don't know why I said squirted some water. I watered it, but
Yeah. These are Mango, Tango, and Zelda, right?
Oh,
Where is
fun
that?
fact: the Moja is saying that there's a lot worse that goes on in admin chat. It's entirely him, and a lot of it is not safe for life.
Yes.
We have our admin chat, which is like mostly serious stuff. We do joke around it, and admins is like you don't open that in public. You just don't.
I don't know. I read it at work.
And
Haltoid, we are
Moja
not
is
discussing our
the
porn
main reason.
preferences.
What's the grossest porn you ever came to, and why'd you post it in admins? I actually haven't.
Oh god.
I actually haven't ever posted it. I'm not going to elaborate on what it is, but I've never posted it.
Really? It's that bad?
Yeah. I don't even want to look at it. It's that bad.
I'm pretty sure, like, I've seen more human fecal matter from your meme post than I have in probably any other media that conveys fecal, like, exponentially, 10,000% more.
You're
I don't like this conversation.
Yeah, can we move on from?
Yeah, guys, apply for stuff. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Well, I think. Well.
Can we talk about bugs instead? Of course.
No.
Of course you
Oh
want that.
God, no! Not with identification. Anyway,
You all should play. You all should
Identification
play Secret
images
Hitler.
are great, and I love them, and I want to see more.
You all should play a big old game of Secret Hitler. That's what you should do. Of all the people talk.
Oh yeah, with all these, it's
Or
crazy.
Jackbox. You know what? You could do a Jackbox game. There's an audience.
There's a crazy well, I have to attend to a D&D session after this, unfortunately. But
Nerd.
what's it? Let's see.
I think what is needed now is we are going to need to free them, aren't we?
Is that no more
fuck
questions?
that.
You just want to be freed?
Last chance for questions in the question queue. 5,
Some people want to do
4,
Jackbox, but
3.
What? We're not gonna do Jackbox with like 58 people. You fucking.
well, there's a fucking audience mode, you dumb piece of
There's
shit.
an audience mode.
Yeah.
You can have the people that are playing. Yeah, okay, they're all doing it. It's fine. I have to go play Sea of Thieves for the first time after this, but it was a.
There's a question. Minters unoppressed when? No,
Never,
you are slaves. You are
Hey,
property.
hey people,
I added
Seth here.
M-blanks. I am the savior of mentors. Please praise to me for adding M-blanks.
Hey guys, wanna play Phantom Forces?
Who's this? Why are you unmuted? You don't
I
even.
think we're
I
all
want that
unmuted
man
now.
Oh no.
Most of them haven't figured it out because it's pushed.
Okay.
I believe I was only the first to notice is all.
Hey, Altoids, now that you can talk, why don't you look at me when we make love?
Oh my god, I can't. You're just too. Yeah, you're just too masculine.
Wait a
Hello?
The body
Wait
is
a
so
goddamn
I down
second.
so.
Oh yeah.
Yes, oh,
What have I done?
Oh no, guys, let's get some yoggers up in here.
Let's get some yoggers. That's all I heard in this whole
We don't
meeting.
need-
is
we don't
getting
need
yoggers.
Lower the bit rate.
I did. I lowered
Your
it to the
yoggers.
maximum.
Fucking zero.
Stop!
I am the law.
More yoggers.
No!
This is great. More yoggers. Oh yeah. This is That's all I got.
Now recording.
Oh, he's now ordering.
Hi, lady.
Yes.
I just want to say, if you have any further comments, you can just keep posting them. I'm gonna leave the town hall chat up and you can post them there. If there's any follow-up questions, Jesus Christ.
If you have any questions, put things some.
That's not even me.
Yeah, Alex.
It's not me. It's Alexander.
Alex.
Why'd you
Found
beat
him.
me? You fucking you piece of shit.
Sorry. I dealt with it.
Oh, good job.
Awful.
Thanks, Alexandria. Love you.
I just self-muted him.
It's time for Roblox.
Gamers in the 12th dimension.
Oh yes, look at that high quality stream right there.
Oh, it's.
Why is every audio potato quality now?
Oh, because we lowered the bit rate.
Here's my actual final comment. I just want to thank everybody for attending. I look forward to doing this again. Thank you for coming. Glad to have done this.
Yeah, thank you.
I am the law.
You guys can resume your Yager spam and do your loud.
Yeah, you can't just leave them like this. They're just gonna fucking. It's just like leaving a bunch of retarded children and just alone. They're just gonna throw seeds at each other. It's just gonna shit their pants, dude. You just gotta leave a bunch of medium functioning. Just sitting
Observe
around.
peak performance in Phantom
No.
Forces.
Oh,
Good
this
to see
is
you.
great.
We're reporting Space Station TTCS 1.6.
I'm gonna love doing this again. This is great. Blast.
Maybe the next one won't take 4 hours.
No, no, it's not. We barely even. watching. Right?
There was only 5.
It's only
MRP took like half the time.
I mean, dude, if you actually like sat and like orated every single thing you're gonna said in like council in the past like some months, it would be just like 4 hours a week of just
Yeah, true enough.
or worse.
All right, I'm gonna head to my D&D campaign. I wish all you guys the best. So, final Yager spam. Have a nice day.
Wait up, wait.
Thanks for
What?
putting this together, King.
Thanks. You're very welcome.
Hey,
Yeah, you're.
remember to praise Monster Mouse. It is the best
No.
atmosphere.
Monster Mouse is the best.
Monster Mouse.
And Metastation's the best station.
Delta.
Okay,
Delta shit.
Delta
Delta
sucks.
Delta, give me Delta.
Delta is better because if you have construction access, you can walk to the AI core as an assistant.
Who doesn't play Omega Station?
Token. So just keep
Oh
up
my
the
God,
Yager
Omega
spam.
Wall.
Can we get some Yager?
Yager spam can
Can we get
lead
the
to
Omega
actual
Wall for everyone
intact
who likes
tokens.
Omega Station?
Mojo, do not start giving those promises. Those promises.
That's council proof.
Instead
Get
of
it
Now recording.
you regulating that chat if you are giving anti tokens for it.
Oh, and by the way, a reminder, if anyone has spoken in this voice chat today and wishes to be removed from the final recording, which may be made public, please DM me so I can remove you from the recording.
I don't care at all.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Don't give a shit. Also, ladder emote win.
No.
Come on.
No.
You know you want to do it.
Send Grim.
What we need is like a yogurt emoji. That's the requirement.
Everyone, remember, Uwu is love, Uwu is life. Monster Mouse good.
Remember everyone.
Monster Mouse is good.
Vote.
Monster Mouse
Please
is
ban
great.
Monster.
People need to not shit on Monster Mouse.
Can I say the N-word and then delete
No,
the channel?
no, stop.
If I delete the channel, there's no proof.
This is a public channel.
There's no proof. Yeah, he's right.
I will screenshot it right before you delete it. I swear to God.
Alexandria is watching.
Has gone to the shitpost lane.
This would be the ideal time to show off your voice because no one would know who you are.
Good job. I really wanted Dark Stick